Starting off, B versus Numudan, jumping right into Lipany with House Lancaster and French. We dive right on into the action.
Indeed, Lipany is the first map here between 3D Clans B and the color green as the House of Lancaster spawning in the south side of Lipany here. Facing Boulder Esports is Numudan, and the color red as the French. And historically, even back during Lancaster's peak, shortly after their release, this matchup was one of the very, very few where they kind of struggled. Even back when the Manners were just notorious, and Lancaster was able to sit back in their base, just booming with 3, maybe 6 Manners, they really struggled up against the French because what they were never able to do easily is secure that secondary gold against hyper-aggressive civilizations. So, and you know, their playstyle was only developed to be more and more aggressive up until recently, when 2TC Lancaster is starting to be on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, kind of back before the change to the manners, even Knights about arrow. A little pod here doesn't make a huge difference. French just very good at being aggressive. An early mine setup on the stone right here from B, easily scouted out by Numudan. He sees that right off the rip. Probably a point of contention to start out. And the gold in the back, that might actually matter here for B. A little easier to secure. He's got to be careful to keep his eye on the back, though. Numudan will surely be looking to pressure that.
Yeah, what I find just interesting here is the lack of a spear opener from B, right? And if you do go for 2TC here as House of Lancaster, that would make sense to not do it because, yeah, you get the French off of gold, but ultimately you delay your timing by quite a bit, and there might still be a bunch of horsemen at where you want to place a TC or even a quick turnaround time into archers for the French. But I guess B deems it not enough of a delay, and on top of it, of course, going to archers is so easy for the French in response to that spear rush, or as we've been seeing nowadays, and as Numudan already done, just a few short walls can prevent any kind of danger.
Yeah, and it's all about the tempo and timing here too. We've seen this from House Lancaster a lot since the patch, going for that 2TC build. I'm curious to see how Numudan, how much he's going to be able to slow that down, because it's very well known, very well documented at this point. Lancaster, very defensive, able to do a lot because the IBA Kings gives him a unit to kind of get on the field, poke and prod a little bit, be annoying. That can buy him time to let the town center pay off. Again, we're looking at like 5, 6, 7 minutes to get that investment in the town center to pay back off. And that's clearly what he's going to go for here with 3 on the stone, lots in the wood very early. So expect him to use this knight both defensively and if he gets the opportunity, maybe even a little bit offensively. I'm curious, and the big question is like, is he going to go for any spears? Is he going to do this very naked? It's interesting that he's not going for any spears. It is, but Lancaster's, I mean, the quicker you get the town center, the more you just invest in it. It's risky, but he could maybe pay this off here. We see that Numudan already respecting the push that could come with the walls and the gold and his stuff set up here. We'll see how quick that knight gets over there and whether he wants to focus on the stone early or if he's going to just have to go back to the gold. I think the stone will be in hand by the time that first knight gets over there.
Right, it's tricky, isn't it? Because it all depends so much where you want to actually place the TC, and there's so many good spots here for B as well. There's the dip back there to the right, which, I mean, good luck getting the TC up there without losing some gold. That's what I'm going to say. And of course, we have the gold, which is a bit safer towards the back there. That would be a pretty cozy spot up against the wood line. That's where English would place it. And it's not like Lancaster can defend any better than English against an open knight here. They have the same short bows, but less attack speed. And they won't have the king either, just the lord, who's even more susceptible to that first French knight. There's to keep in mind the mana stone as well, right? We need only 300 for the TC, but are we going to overmine the stone here? Specifically, another extra 100 for a mana. That's a lot of stone. And again, that delays the TC because you have to go off of wood earlier because of that and compensate on stone. So a lot of decisions to be made here by B.
Numudan.
Looks like he will go over it.
Opening by French. Yeah, heavy on the gold. We expect lots of knights. First one's already in the queue. B now finally up in age as of right about now.
There we go.
So now the game begins. Now things get interesting. I'm curious where Numudan wants to put the most pressure. And I do think that TC is going right about where we're looking right here. I think just kind of tucked in between the gold and the wood would be the safest option. And that's pretty defendable, honestly. He's going to need to get something there. And yeah, right there, right where we were both kind of thinking. There's no denying this. Question is, what's the follow-up?
That is the question, right? Because yeah, like you said, this is not getting denied or harassed realistically. So B's going to get it up just fine. But that secures his gold. But that's not so much your concern up against French here, unless B just plans a direct zoom for the fast castle, which we have seen sort of English Lancaster do before, even under heavy pressure. That white tower placed to the left side of that TC could be a very juicy spot, securing the gold as well as the wood line. That's really your main concerns at this stage. You can even pull the sheep under there if you like, and the mana will boost all of it. I guess we're getting pretty tight on space when it comes to the mana as well. But that's what I'm wondering about here. Yeoman Spear Defense could be a classic too. Drawing inspiration from English.
I've been seeing those manners get placed sometimes between the TCs quite often. I could see that happening there. And then that I think the white tower right where you mentioned would be perfect. Some really good body blocking too with that scout right in the little choke point between the wood line and the newly minted TC. That was some good little bit of defense there from B. Just nice and precise. Not anything Numudan can do about this. He's got 3 knights in the field now. 2 in play here. Seeing the scout. Not going to really build too much about that. Scout might go down. And then we're seeing something very French here, going out on the deer. And why not? Your opponent's basically given you the map control for the time being. Really, I'm surprised he hasn't sent more out a little earlier even.
Yeah, it looks like B did a good job of spreading out the deer, right? That might have made Numudan a bit thoughtful as to how exactly, whether to even go on that deer back in the first place, or maybe go greedier directly to the boar at the front. But forces him to drop a few extra mills instead here, which doesn't mind too much. It's only half price for him, of course, 25 instead of the 50. But ultimately, you know, it all adds up at this level, as the barracks is now coming up for B. He's going to need at least the barracks, that's guaranteed. But how much do you invest here as B? I mean, you are 2TC, you're on the defensive. You have to be very careful about what French decides to do here in the form of Numudan. I mean, with the range coming up, aggression is definitely on the cards. If it was something like a second stable, then even like a French semi-fast castle would have become more of a possibility, but Numudan wants to press on the gas. So as B, what do you do here? Do you go Hobbler? Do you go Yeoman? Do you just try to have a few spears and get to castle ASAP, which does actually seem to be the case, Octon. Look at that gold and the food piling up.
Very heavy on gold. And why not? Because the white tower right where those knights are would be really good. One thing I like that B did is these knights try to dive in here. They'll get onto the Lord. Should take him out. Spear's not going to do too much just yet. Oh, they put him in the TC. Smart play from B. One thing that I like that he did here is he lost that scout on the far side of the map. That bought him some very precious seconds as the knights went all the way back to the base, had to come all the way back to the south. That gave time for B to get those spears up and ready to go. Able to hold off the initial onslaught of these knights and really didn't take any damage for it. One low leveled, low HP Lord of Lancaster, but one pretty low knight out of the mix of it as well. So overall, good trade from B. And if he's going for this fast castle, he's got the resources, drops it down. Where is that going? Is that going on the opposite side we were saying it?
Exactly where we were saying.
Right in front of it, right where we were saying. Maybe a little conservative. I would have moved it out just a little bit, but maybe try and get that gold on the front a little more, but still, right about the same spot. That is going to be a spot you cannot send knights into.
He's playing it like as safe as he can, considering his strategy, right? I mean, yeah, it would be great to get it just a few inches more to the left there, get that gold underneath the range as well, but ultimately, how many knights are there really? How many archers are there really? The scout is not there, so you have to be extremely careful in this position. The TC was the first greed play. The fast castle was the second greed play here from B, back to back against one of the most aggressive civilizations in the game. How much more is he going to get away with this game? I guess he decides that the safe position is a good place to call it for now.
He definitely could have gotten away with it, but he also can't see into the fog of war right now. Like you said, lost that scout. That vision does matter, and that very well is probably influencing his choices. When you don't see beyond the edge of your buildings, you're not going to want to be, you're not incentivized to get even greedier. But B is playing a very clean game right now. His macro is completely on point. That said, Numudan matching the castle with the castle age of his own. Guild Hall is coming up.
Guild Hall is going to go up and start ticking and accruing that food nice and early. It's not something French minds too much, really. Like, French is not bothered whatsoever about a scaling game. they don't mind going up to an early castle, playing for the relics and hitting the Imperial Age as a result even earlier. Of course, the villager scaling is going to become a concern by the time the Guildhall gets to that stage. Already, we're 8 ahead here for B, considering, of course, French's faster production naturally with the villagers. Relics is going to be a very important detail here because I don't see B being able to grab too many, realistically. I mean, with the Knights, he has the 3-free Earl's Guard, but ultimately it's many spears, and out in the open, they're very vulnerable with the archers present already.
That said, B is sallying forth, trying to cut off those archers. Knights back up in time, spears. Quite a good number of those, along with the Earl's Guards. With one knight to boot, this is actually a really nice comp from B. I actually like this a lot. In fact, it's on top of the archers. That knight right there is kind of the difference maker here. Just able to chop through the back line of Numudan. He's got to send those knights in to commit a little bit to keep them alive.
And the knight gets away.
Did you see that? B just dragged away the knight at the last moment there. One little volley from the archers was unable to finish it off. 1 HP on this guy. And this is massive, honestly. Like this early stage of the castle age, this is the comp B. This is a comp specifically designed to be able to maximize the amount of relics he obtains. Keep these engagements very uncomfortable for Numudan, who, of course, has his knight veterancy to worry about, his archer veterancy, needing to drop a monastery behind this, maybe stone gathering, which is underway, that further strains his economy and lessens the amount of units he can output, giving B the space to do exactly this. Take control of the center map whilst scaling behind this. And losing those archers there for Numudan, I want to say, was an actual critical error in this. It was really, really hurts his tempo. And B, I think, is very comfortable in this position.
Yeah, the difference one knight makes. The fact that he kept that one alive, I mean, 1 HP. I mean, that was like kind of a coin flip if you get it out in time, but expertly done that he got it out. That's going to get healed up and come back in the battle at full strength in a couple minutes, which is just, again, you're just up another knight. You're up all that more resources. Now, Numudan trying to find an angle. He knows he's on a timer. He knows he can't win in the open field, so maybe he can pick off some resources. Maybe he can get a dive going on here. But House Lancaster, much like just English, tough nut to crack. I mean, where do you poke and prod? Everything is centralized for B.
Exactly. And White Tower position as well. I mean, it's exactly what a Lancaster and English dreams of. Tightly securing the wood line as well as the gold. What more could you ask for? And with the surge of confidence, B feels confident enough to actually move directly to Numudan side of the base and begin raiding himself. Taking out the monk, carrying the relic. That's a lot of gold down the drain here for Numudan. Villagers getting idled now. It's like one is going to go down to that knight.
I say, what
bleeding begins already.
Maybe I could have some vills of my own, says B, and gets one for the effort. And you know, even though he only got one, I mean, one is pretty massive given he's already got 2 TC and he's lost none of his own. But now making Numudan even more uncomfortable in base. This game is going just incredibly well for B. I mean, this is exactly how he drew it up on the drawing board. Back at the beginning when he was thinking about this matchup going into this is exactly how he probably wanted it to go.
And B is the Lancaster player, isn't he? He is sort of the first one nowadays that we've seen really popularize this play with Lancaster. And you can see why. The execution here is just flawless. He knows exactly what to do every step of the way. He's definitely played this matchup before and is clearly very comfortable in how it goes. This seems planned all so far. Crossbowman switch now on the way for B. Plenty of spears being added as well. This makes perfect sense, right? You need those knights and spears early on in the castle age. You need a comp that can skirmish in messy fights around the map. That has been achieved. He has a few relics under his belt already. There's still that one left there on the west side of the map, which they were fighting over initially, but hasn't yet been picked up. Scout gets picked off there. Trades a knight for it, B does.
He quickly brings in the reinforcements. Man, B just in a very strong spot. Now, Numudan does have one ace up his sleeve. He does have that guild hall just pulling up, getting those dividends little bit by little bit as we see the first looks of a farm transition happening here for B. So, Numudan should be able to get to an Imperial Age if he wants. The tricky thing is that timing going to be coming in at a point where he can swing the game in his favor? A Red Palace somewhere would be great. But is he going to be able to get it up? Is he going to be able to do that easily enough? And I don't think the guild hall is quite there yet anyways. It should be getting towards it, but probably still another couple minutes out. Meanwhile, the fights for the relics continue.
Yeah, Numudan, I have to wait a while longer for the Red Palace for sure. And the tricky part of it is, just like you said, where is he going to place it? Because a good Red Palace is one that secures you plenty of resources. You need to be in a position where you're able to actually place it somewhere with value on the map. Most notably those big golds, the center site with the big gold, that's a great spot, or the one on the right with the sacred site. These are the spots you want to be actively looking for and securing, or potentially distracting your opponent from looking at with raids. But Numudan is in a difficult position when it comes to that, right? There is very little map control to his name here. The knights have reached out now and are looking around the center of the map, finds the monk here. He's going to be able to snipe him down. But what are you going to hit on B's side? If you commit a lot of knights over there, that opens you up to a counterattack. We know B has his own knights. Numudan knows B has his own knights. You might not know exactly the extent how many. That's always going to be a concern. Enough so to even incentivize him to go double tower there on the front gold. So very scary for Numudan when it comes to that Red Palace placement. He can't just leave it in his base, because then his lack of map control continues.
Yeah, and his problems are just compounding over time, though, because meanwhile, B getting an ever larger villager lead with that 2TC. The hope kind of going into castle would be, hey, he went 2TC, he's going for a quick castle, he doesn't have as much military. I should be able to grab the relics and at least bridge that gap for a little while so that it doesn't get out of hand. Well, frankly, he didn't really do that. I mean, the relic count, I think, is in favor of B right now. So things are getting very out of hand then for Numudan, because your opponent's scaling. He's now at full strength with that scaling. We're seeing that reflected in the military numbers, where he's doubled the military size of Numudan. So things just don't look great. And now you're going, okay, I've got Imperial Age eventually. Is that going to be enough? Even if you get the Red Palace on maybe the center of the map, like where we're looking at right now, with this huge green army just trying to swallow up these knights, even if you get the palace where they were standing a second ago, how are you going to then convert that to a win long term? Because again, the economy of B is completely set up. And yes, you've got to keep with all of your production around it, so you're getting that discount. But man, look at the mass of B.
And even the Arbaletria being mixed in here by Numudan, just a misread, right? He was distracted too much by the knights. So now he's adding a unit, which sure is one of his premium units, but I mean, you'd still prefer archers against this composition from B, right? I mean, it's crossbows and spears, that's it. Four Lords of Lancaster, sure, I'm definitely gonna demand some crossbows to die quickly, but I mean, ultimately, there's very few armored units here for B, and that makes the Arbaletria lose a lot of value. You can't afford to misplace any resources here as Numudan, but it might be a little too late. I mean, like you said, even if suddenly he gets a Red Palace for free on that eastern site, let's say, what do you do exactly to follow up with? You're going to need your own second TC. You need to aggressively farm transition behind this. B is already almost triple the food income. Now Numudan is climbing slightly, but it's a very tricky spot.
Yeah, he'll be able to click up. We just saw the guild hall. He basically has the resources to go into Imperial Age. The problem is he doesn't have enough resources and gold in the bank to really get any upgrades with it. So again, puts him in a tricky spot. And then the food situation that you mentioned, yeah, he's got a little bit of, deer in the back, and that's about it. But B's fully farm transitioned. Numudan hasn't quite gotten to that point yet. And now your forward gold's getting pressed on. Like, this is just not a comfortable spot for Numudan, and he knows it.
There's not at all. And with his forward towers here on the goal getting pressed, I mean, this is the spot where he wants to fight. It is double springboard emplacement here, so the kiting is going to begin. But, of course, the food situation is the problem. The remass potential here is way, way higher for B. And he knows this. He can afford to take a slightly unfavorable fight on Numudan's terms here just to bleed him out. Just to make sure that that food is not used for a Red Palace, but for sheer survival. And survival is what's going to be the name of the game here for Numudan, because his front line can't hold the line. It's just knights, and there's so many spears. Even the Hobbler are now seeping through. Very sneaky transition behind us from B, and they're going to just munch away at that back line as it kites to the point where Numudan, even his wood line beneath his keep, is now unsafe, and the situation went from bad to worse.
And the wise words of a person once said, Honey Badger don't care. Springgold Towers, fortified, doesn't matter. The mass, the sheer numbers that B has, he can afford to throw units in the meat grinder indefinitely. So this game is just over.
Absolute masterclass by B in this opening game on Lancaster. Picks up a very comfortable looking win here. Just, it felt like everything went exactly according to plan.
Yeah, I don't think B could have drawn it up any better than that. I mean, that was exactly the kind of game you go in hoping for. You go, okay, 2TC, conservative, quick castle, a little risky, but should pay off. I can just not lose anything from the pressure. I'm a defensive civ. If I just turtle up a little bit, should springboard when I'm in castle. And sure enough, man, I think it really came down to that first engagement with the knight. Just one knight making the difference there, able to pick off those archers. I mean, that was huge for this win because that denied the relics, which would have bridged the gap for Numudan with the disparity in build numbers. But from there, once you lose that, the snowballing just did not stop.
You're completely right. I'm not sure if we're able to get a little replay of that first engagement around the relic. Here it is.
Right
but
here.
Just moments before this, we saw that knight from B being used to drag most of the forces here from Numudan forward as his infantry came out of the stealth forest. It didn't, catch Numudan too off guard, but just the angle of engagement, they allowed him to pick up those extra archers. And as we mentioned, it matters so much at this point. There's 2-3 extra archers picked off because of that maneuver, completely removed Numudan's presence from that point of the map and allowed B to get the relic advantage whilst being stuck against a map with so much, a civilization with so much map presence and such strong units to keep doing so. Whilst he's spending so much food on 2TC, it's very impressive breaking out of that position just through that move alone.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I don't think we can understate how dominant of a game that was by B. And, it was a tough spot for Numudan too, right? Like, you want to get aggressive. Your opponent's got a pretty favorable spawn for that. I think part of it too, that scout running his initial wave of knights all the way back home and coming all the way back, giving just enough of a minute for B to get some spears ready to go, to get that TC in place. Things, little details like that can really, really matter, especially early in the game. And B just had every small break go his way on top of a really solid game plan and excellent execution. We go to game 2 with B now 1-0. So moving on to Gorge, Chinese versus Sengoku Daimyo. How do you feel, Myriad, with Sengoku after the changes? Because before the patch, Sengoku was probably S tier, A+ tier. I mean, it was just really, 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 really good. Post patch, with some of those things toned down, how do you feel about it now?
It's not great. It's not great. It's a testament to how Sengoku was in the past, where after nerf, after nerf, after nerf, now they find they're like middle of the pack, right? They're not terrible, but they're a shadow of their former selves, but they're still very playable. I mean, we see them being picked here in the second game by Numudan, right? They're still good. They are more sort of in line with Japanese to the extent where Sengoku is like the slightly more aggressive variant of Japanese now, I would say. Like, not so much that they're better at aggression, although I do think they are slightly. I mean, the Yari are so good in Feudal, right? But also just out of necessity, because when the Yatai are out on the map, you can't just go like naked fast castle like Japanese does with your Kura storehouse farms, right? Like, you can't. You have to defend the Yatai, or without the Yatai, you're not even a civilization at all, I would say. So it makes it tricky from a draw perspective, because this is something you have to be aware of. But then it's not like they're that impressive of a feudal civilization either, right? Like, they will get butchered by French, they will lose to JD, they will lose to Golden Horde, they will lose to Macedonia, they will lose to all the top tier civs. So it is to this situation where China is sort of an interesting matchup, where China doesn't want to spend too much time in feudal, although they don't mind if they have to. But the army is nothing special. It's all about the numbers, right? So out of the top civs specifically, against China, Sengoku can do better than others, I would say.
It's definitely an intriguing matchup here, especially on Gorge. I'm curious to see how Sengoku stocks up, especially post those changes. Like you said, it seems like you're a little down on them more than maybe some other players might be, but they definitely are not as scary as they were for. But that said, we dive in. We'll see how they fare. We'll see if this goes into a castle matchup against the two or if they stay for a longer feudal. Right off the rip, we've got B as the green in Chinese in the northeast. But down here in the southwest, we're looking at Numudan playing Sengoku Daimyo in the red.
Gorgeous the map here. B with a nice early lead in the series. 1 up. Relies on the Chinese in the second game, and a great civ to rely on to put you on match point. For so long, China has been a dominant force in the pro scene, and for good reason. Even after some shaves, the taxes are still incredible. The passive gold, the supervision and the flexibility of it, additional economy, faster production on the military, faster technologies. They can respond to any situation and very quickly at that. Sengoku,
Very
though.
flexible civ.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Even today, I mean, you can still play them on water maps as well, right? It's just that they're so good on land that you'd rather keep sort of more catered civs for water.
That's a really good way of putting it, actually. Could not have said it better myself. And Sengoku, I mean, we're kind of down on Sengoku, but I don't want anyone at home to think that is not a viable civ. Like, it went from being arguably the best civ in the game, or one of, to now it's just kind of one of the guys. You know, it's just there. It hangs out. It's fine. Maybe not as scary as it once was, but still definitely playable, definitely winnable. I'm curious though to see how Numudan wants to tackle these Chinese. I'm half expecting B to. I mean, we expect a pro scouts play out of B, or is that too? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's necessary, honestly, from
Right,
B.
like on Gorge, especially with all the outside.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to be throwing. And then moreover, you can take the deer away from those food trucks. You know, get that as a resource they can't rely on.
Yeah, I think Pro Scout is it's pretty much a necessity by B for sure. There's no... I mean, we've seen a couple of sort of early songs on board into skipping Pro Scouts and such with mixed results, but it's not the map for it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you go Barbican...
It feels like you have to.
Yeah. I mean, we're even going to go Barbican if you go for it. On your first deer pack there in the south, it protects the deer pack and nothing else. Same with the deer pack on the far right. It's like a big gold for like 20 minutes down the line. Sure, that's good. I mean, you can go on the boar in the north and get the berries too, but that leaves the whole swath of the southern side of your base and map completely wide open and disconnects those villagers from the rest of your base, leaving them open later. It's just, you have to bring that deer in safely, and then you can later on go for that song on the boar and the berries. It could be a nice little spot later, but again, like that's one of the reasons Sengoku doesn't mind this matchup too much, right? Similarly up against Byzantines too. They're not too unhappy about facing Byzantines, because all these civs, just like China, right, despite their having the fastest age up in the game by far, just over 3 minutes, B is already up, nothing's going to happen for 2 minutes from China, right? They're just going to build imperial officials, and maybe they might throw one horseman at you, but it's likely going to be pro scouts. I mean, we've seen some very aggressive openings from China against civs like Sengoku, because they have one of the latest age ups in the game. So a couple of well-placed horsemen can be really annoying early on for Sengoku to deal with on the gold, on the Yatai. So that might be an option here for B, but there's still going to be a delay. You still want 2 or 3 officials.
This is interesting from Numudan. We got the Ryokan coming out.
Yeah, the Ryokan giving that passive healing over time to units that have been produced within the influence. There's a couple of stealth forests on the map, so there's definitely value to be found from Koka, but you have to make that value yourself with Koka still, right? You need to summon the shinobi and summon them at the right time, which is, combined with everything else you have to do, it's an extra burden on your attention. Something else you have to make sure you do to improve your chances of winning the game, which, I mean, definitely has higher potential returns than the Ryokan, but it's harder to materialize those returns. Ryokan's for sure easier to play.
It's got a much higher ceiling, I think, of value, of what you could get out of it. But often, even at this level, sometimes you see, I don't think players, I mean, and this is top, from the very top to the very bottom of the skill spectrum in the world. I feel like players often don't maximize what they could get out of it, because it's a bit of an APM sink, and you've got to also mentally keep checking back in on it if you can use the abilities again. And it can really swing battles, but here we just opts for the passive healing, which I do like, and with the changes to the Ryokan and with the changes to the Shinobi, I do think it's a valid here at this point. Having some passive healing can go quite a long way.
It really can, and it makes perfect sense to open up with the stables afterwards, right? The Yari cavalry, one of the best horsemen in the game, in the feudal age especially. 2 additional damage up against other cavalry. So let's do
This is
additional
my
stats.
fear. This is my fear with the pro scouts from B was if Numudan decides to play a heavy cav centric defense against the pro scouts, I feel like there's a real possibility that he could very much hinder, and maybe I don't know if I would say the deny entirely, but he could definitely hinder the speed at which B gets these deer back in, because this horseman pound for pound should beat B's horseman.
Oh yeah, it's a reality, right? And B has to be aware of it. He's forced to go into spears sooner rather than later, especially as these Yari numbers climb. We did see the singular stable from Numudan. I hope we have a second one added by now because he's gonna need it to actually deal. Yeah, there we go. That's exactly what he needs in this kind of a matchup. And that will offset this horseman start here from B somewhat. I mean, there's value gained already, idle time on the gold, and the Yatai getting hit as well, pushed back to the berries for repairs. So there is some value there, but of course his pro scout is delayed as a result here for B. So there's always a price to pay. Only now are the first deer coming in. Spearmen are on the field already. Numudan wants to keep up the aggression. He's going to need archers of his own.
First deer carcass is coming in for B. He does have a spear on the ground now. Still Dark Age. See the first of the returns from those food carts coming back in. Getting that first one's huge. Losing that, if you ever do, is just devastating. So having that first one in secures that 5% increase.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, horseman from B still doing loops around. This is really. I was kind of wondering if Newman will be able to push these back and take a good fight. He hasn't really had the numbers to do it just yet, which means behind this, B is just gathering the close by deer with ease.
Exactly. You're doing another amazing job of distracting Numudan here. 4 Yari chasing those horsemen. Means the first day pack is going to be home completely uncontested. Second one, though, way further out, and that's... The second one is the minimum that B needs here, really. He definitely wants to get that back immediately. It looks like he's trying to go castle as fast as possible behind this. There's a lot of food piling up. Even spearman production has ceased for now. The Yumi are starting to hit the field, but is there really a timing here to shut down that deer? There might be, because of B's slowdown in unit production. I think Numudan has to scout this carefully, though.
I think it was really wise of B to put that tower on the gold up front. That was actually in a really good spot between that little wood line, between the gold. Adding a second one to boot. He knows that his game plan relies on that gold vein being accessible and be able to get the gold. He's got the food, but he has got to get another 500 gold to be able to age up, and he really is going to need more than that to get the upgrades. So very wise, fortifying that now. That also has the byproduct of making that deer on the mill even more secure on top of that. So B, again, playing very well, playing expertly. He's getting upgrades and emplacements for the towers as well. So that spot should be very hard to press. And now Numudan's going to see that and know what's up. He knows castle is imminent. It's just a matter of time, and there's nothing he can really do about it at this point. But maybe try and scare off scouts on the other deer.
You can see a slight effect of the tax nerfs here firsthand, right? Suddenly you're having to compensate 20 on gold to age up his China when beforehand you put even 1 extra on gold, and before you know it, you're ready to go imp in feudal age. So much needed.
Like,
much
you shouldn't
needed.
just be able to click up for free.
No,
I feel like
you
when you go
shouldn't.
pro scouts, you shouldn't just get a free pass to castle. I mean, you don't get a jail free card with pro scouts. So I like that. I like that he had to, invest a little bit to get there. And it's still, frankly, for B, it still looks kind of easy. You just had to put 2 towers up, invest a little bit, bada bing, bada boom. He's on the gold. He's clicking up. Imperial Palace halfway up already, with before 10 minutes even.
Yeah, exactly. Sengoku have suffered themselves, right? I mean, this is like half the Sengoku units we'd see in their form beforehand. Such was their power. And B would, of course, be dead for sure to a dive in that position. But that is in the past. 1 little spearman goes down now to the Yumi, chasing here. Imperial Palace has finished. Knights immediately in queue for B. But there's enough Yari here to keep B in his base, right? Like, already Numudan is transitioning to castle. It's a nice little turnaround time for him. And there's enough Yari, as I've said, to keep these first knights in their base. It's very risky for B to go raiding immediately in case he does get caught by these Yari. Surrounded, the knight will fall very quickly. So it is still dangerous for B.
Yeah, which means Numudan's going to easily be able to click up the castle here in just a second. I expect to see the sake brewery. Yep, there it is. And a beautiful spot, too, right on top of the bonus. Able to get that with 3 of the carts. Yeah, the Matsui right next to it, able to buff it up. That's really, really huge here. And in fact, that's in a really good spot. Covering the food, covering the gold, covering the wood, and now covering the sake brewery. Can't get much better than that. And he's gotten 3 shipments in, so being plus 15%. At least I think it's still 15%, still 5% each, right? Or did that get nerfed too? Now my brain's not sure.
For the mats?
Or? It was 5%. I think it's still 5% each. Maybe I'm wrong.
To be honest, I have no idea.
I used to know. After the patch, I feel like everything got nerfed from Sengoku. So now I'm sick of going, it's still, regardless, it's going to be close to that number. And it's still going to be very good having 3 of those in. So Numudan's actually in an okay spot here. He's not behind right now. He's actually got a bit of an edge militarily. There are a couple Lancers out, but he's got the numbers right now. Getting the first of the relics in, though, B. Not wasting any time the moment he can get out of his base.
Yeah, B really wants 3 of those relics, ideally. That's going to perfectly fit in the 3 pagodas that he undoubtedly wants to go for later with the Yuan dynasty. It's going to lead to just an absolutely obscene amount of passive income. So he's definitely foaming at the mouth thinking of it in the future. Meanwhile, though, just to make sure he gets there, and raids is a great start, as the knights idle out the berries in the north as well. This lonely Yatai gets spotted by 2 horsemen. This other one's definitely going to go down as well, and the trader will go down too.
Ah, it's so unfortunate.
Although actually the Yatai might be saved here.
Yeah, some villagers able to get on the repairs for that a little bit, able to give it some health, able to get away.
This is the type of spot where, wouldn't you just love to have Shinobi right now in that stealth forest? See, this is the type of spot where you'd love to have
slow him down, and then you could surround him and then have him. Yeah, but he has gotten some value out of the healing. I've seen some low-level Cav get some health back. Whether or not it's better than the Shinobi would have been, that opportunity cost is very real here.
And the masses are very healthy from, one single Yari splitting off there. Nice touch by Numudan. He's going to have 2 relics. B did get his 3, but of course, just getting 3 relics is not enough for China here. You have to be so incredibly careful as your day runs out. Because much like Japanese, much like Japanese, Sengoku was fine when it comes to food. They don't have a sudden huge drop like Chinese do. They will always have the Yatai present. And these trades, of course, favor Numudan.
You get the feel that Numudan's kind of waiting for this transition to happen, and now is when things get interesting. The gold is gone. The food is probably quickly drying up. Remember, B only got 2 of the packs. He only got his pack, and I think he missed. Did he even get that final pack down in the corner? He still hasn't quite got it all in yet. So, yeah, a couple more deer still there. He's still trying to get some in. Meanwhile, the 2 packs on Numudan's side have been Numudan's.
But we also missed disaster behind this, Sokoton. Look at the worker kills. I think it was probably on that deer pack there. Ooh. So many have fallen here for Numudan, who's now more than 10 villages behind. If we also count the Imperial officials, that is, of course. But very painful loss there for Numudan. That's going to sting. And it already shows in the food income, B overtaking.
This is exactly what China has to do, because he's facing right now, B is facing a major transition in his economy. He has to move out, has to go find either new gold sources. He doesn't have anyone on gold right now, so he's just kind of forfeited that for the time being. He needs to start thinking about food long term. So what better time than when you've got to worry about that, make your opponent worry about something in turn as well. And in this case, having knights and lancers all over your base.
And you would think, right, the Sengoku knights are better than normal knights, and that they are, but when they are almost getting tripled in count here, that's a different story. So B is just looking to brute force the knight action.
He's doing a good job of it too. He's really making Numudan play on the defensive. I think losing 7 vills in a blink will do that to you. The Yumi Ashigaru coming in to help. They're not going to be able to do much against these lancers. In fact, they're kind of an obsolete unit in this fight right now. There's nothing that they counter.
Exactly. And even a keep now. In the north side by B, and what a spot to secure. We have gold, we have berries, the stone, even the boar that he can pull beneath that keep is going to be secured if he so chooses. He even has the horseman there. I think that's the sole purpose of that horseman, just to pull the boar.
Massive placement, actually. That's a massive place to secure because
it is huge.
Yeah, and the food was a problem. He is the pro scouts is basically done. Like unless he goes and grabs the one on Numudan's side, which is kind of a far fetch at this point. Like the payoff for that's not as good. You're just gonna be looking to slowly go into a farm transition after the boar. So getting that boar, getting those berries, sitting on that gold and the stone in reserve. B's in a good spot once again. He's doing it. I'm noticing that as B plays, he doesn't get caught behind. He's always planned ahead. You know, so often you get caught up in what you're doing right now. You don't think about what's going to happen a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes from now. B's done a really good job of playing for the long game. And I don't mean that he wants this to go very, very long, so much as I mean he knows that he's going to have these things pop up and he's planned for them already.
Exactly. So much experience in the pro scene of not only AoE4, but other games as well. It really hones you to think of these things in the future, plan ahead. Big separation between the very best.
My dad was a U.S. Marine and always said that proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, Dad. We're seeing that on display from B right here.
Wise words. The Knight's got to cost plenty of idle time here. Wolf 4, however. Numudan's getting a lot of month Samurai now, right? Like, B is still producing Knights, but Numudan's being patient, being careful, just massing up as much as he can. And it's bearing fruit. The more of these Sengoku Knights come out, the harder it's going to get for B. He's making the crossbowman transition now, but we have no song yet, so no possibility for granaries, although the farms are being placed behind his base, it looks like, without granaries. That's a sacrilege.
That does feel really bad. Hey, you know, desperate times, desperate measures, you know, so maybe you just don't have the space back there. He's just got to get the farms up one way or another. Well, he's still in Tang Dynasty, so.
No. Yeah, no passive villager production bonus speed. Or granaries nice just yet. Now.
I feel like getting the Barbican up at this point would actually be of quite a benefit.
Sure would be.
Be just opting to get more knights, though, more lancers. In fact, he's not really producing anything at the moment. He's adding in crossbows is his new addition to the comp.
Yeah, this is that China transition we discussed, right? It's where the food is getting very minimal. You're very concerned about keeping yourself safe, which is why we see the crossbows and spearmen transition behind this. And the knights are just going to sort of buy space, right? They're going to buy time. They're going to keep Numudan on edge and defending where he needs to. Because it is a lot of knights, so you can't just march across the map here as Numudan and try to brute force a fight on B's side. And B's done an amazing job of keeping these knights alive, right? He can sacrifice them for damage here and there, which he has a few, and that's great. But if he didn't have these knights, then, I mean, he'd be getting pushed hardcore right now by Numudan, so...
Which means also that he can't afford to lose these knights without getting some serious gains in return. So he's diving here in the corner. We'll see how far he dives in. Yeah, you see, he doesn't really want to take this fight. He knows if this doesn't go well, those mounted samurai are better on paper, and they're getting in big enough numbers that this is actually not a fight he wants to take. It's formidable enough that Numudan won't push into his base unawares. Now that he knows where it's at, he can just chase him all the way back home. B can't take the fight right now. He needs this force alive, because without it, like you said, he'd be taking one to the chin.
I think by now, you also have the additional movement speed on the cavalry here from Numudan. We can see them constantly catching up and sneaking in hits. Even the mounted samurai are slowly closing the distance. Such a great upgrade for the Sengoku. Very expensive nowadays, though. Even a second TC might be.
Oh, that's a spot for it too. I think that's actually critical. Because Numudan, you don't want him just to kind of scale away. But having a way for you to slowly start scaling on top of this. You don't have Song Dynasty, so you're not really getting the super fast villager production. I think a second TC, I actually really like that choice, especially under the keep that's right there.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a great space just behind them for the granaries. You have the keeper protection. You have the TC as a tax drop-off point. So it's such a good spot. He's just going to take the ball now. So still got plenty of food, really, B to work with here. Even the berries up there to the left. An additional stone gathering from B. He's definitely thinking of another keep. Maybe at the front of his base, even. Get those berries secured in the main entrance. Secure his production. The monastery is there as well. That would be a good spot for a keep for sure. And with these numbers reaching this point... Yeah. The tricky part is though, right, like... We have the dream composition here for Numudan, Yumi, as well as Mounted Samurai. But B has crossbowmen, spearmen, and almost 30 knights as well. He's as a late-stage rounded tricom. So when it comes to an engagement... Yeah.
It's going to be bloody. Yeah.
Focusing out the spears would be tough.
You get a little raid here from Numudan. He sees it eventually, moves the villagers away. Yeah, they are starting to posture like they are ready to duke it out on the middle of the field of battle. Both sides trying to get a better position, trying to get the one up on the other. Right now, they're kind of just circling. It looks like two masses of bees, like just swarming around each other.
Yeah, I mean, a fight here, like with these numbers, especially to lead on from earlier, it's just hard to gauge, right? Like how you can't really know who's going to win this fight. I mean, B's looking at it, he sees he has a huge mass, but he sees just an absolutely obscene number of Sengoku Knights. He doesn't know the Takeda level. It's up to level 3. It's as good as these knights can get now. But then we don't have any Oda clan, right? So these Yumi aren't that impressive. And all of these are very important considerations for B, who finds a raid here on the gold. No villager damage whatsoever, but plenty of idle time. Costs him quite a few knights, though. He's actually playing this way more aggressively than I thought. He's just pushing in.
This feels really dangerous. If Yumi can get some good hits on the crossbows, this could really swing things as they dive in. Spears are on the front line, however. Sengoku Knights wrapping around and getting to the back line. Even the crossbows are going to go down. Do they have enough momentum to go all the way through? Looks like they do. The Sengoku Knights push through and get the surround on top of the crossbows. This is absolutely a terrible fight for B. Very much miscalculated. Reinforcements trickling in, but man, damage has been dealt.
Indeed. A couple of villager kills by B here make it not as sour, but that fight was undoubtedly and decisively Numudan's favor. The destroyed value tells quite the tale here in Numudan's favor. It's actually so extreme, I wonder if something else might have happened. Maybe replacing Barbican or something there for B, but that is very one-sided indeed. But
that deflective armor there really came into play with the crossbows. Getting a free shot really makes a difference.
It's also like what exactly caused that decision from B to push in so recklessly, I want to say, almost just trying to brute force a fight against so many mounted samurai. And when you think of that, really, the only answer that comes to mind is he must have been worried about Imperial Age from Numudan, right? I mean, if you drop the Sword Hunt statue and suddenly you have elite Sengoku Knights as well as Yumi, I mean, you can build a defensive all you want as B, but that's a brutal position to play from. So he must have been worried about that. But you can see he doesn't throw away everything. He's still fine here on the defense. Yes, the keep up there in the north. Now keep in the south side. The front entrance to his base, though, is still exposed, so Numudan might look to force the issue.
And why not? You just want a really decisive fight there. Sending in, trying to get the follow-up there to secure that lead. A lot of spears here now, though, but also a lot of Yumi behind this. They're picking off the crossbows right now. The mounted samurai don't seem to mind these spears too much. They're, even in the choke points, fighting pretty well. However, crossbows are just enough in mass. They're starting to pick off the mounted Sams. This could be problematic. The Yumi aren't getting as many kills as they would have liked. That said, he's still kind of kiting back. He's losing most of his front line now, and once those spears go down, there's nothing protecting the crossbows anymore. But I don't think there's enough steam in those mounted Sams. He will have to pull back. Numudan retreats, but boy, a lot of damage on both sides dealt.
Yeah, another little bloodbath here. The entrance to B's base is just the food stalling just a little bit there for Numudan, creeping behind B and just under 1,000 during that fight. So he can't afford to remass at the rate that he really needs to break B in that position. Still, though, keeping B on edge, B is definitely not comfortable in this spot. There's still no Song. There's still no Yuan. he still is missing some of his essentials to playing sort of a good long-term China game here for himself and secure himself for the late game. But Numudan
Yeah,
is really
it's
limiting the
interesting.
breathing space.
It's interesting that he hasn't gone, like I said, not having the granaries in the back really feels bad. He's fully farm transitioned, but without granaries. It just, not ideal, but it is what it is at this point now. Numudan pushing it again. He does have quite a lead of these mounted samurai, 16 of them with 20 Yumi Ashigaru around him. Tricky thing is, B has a comp that's designed to kill mounted samurai.
And it does, and especially on the defensive like this at choke points, this composition is stellar at doing their very job exactly. Numudan discovers the granaryless farms here behind Nimbi's base. Not what you'd expect to see, yet here it is regardless. But the income is very stable now for B. Even without the granaries, he's going to be able to just keep pumping these numbers. And these high-value, expensive units from Numudan, the mounted samurai, as you can see, they're just lagging behind the archers. They cannot engage this effectively. Numudan may have bit off a bit more than he can chew with that earlier push, and is really unable to remass. Look at the gold situation. He's way over gathering it, struggling.
Yeah, you mentioned his food situation. He did not have the income of food while those big fights were happening. B has been sitting pretty stable around 1,600 food. Numudan for most of that was at like 800-900. Only now is he breaking above 1,000. Didn't have the ability to replace what he had fast enough, and now you can see a bit of a missed macro. Sitting on the gold, the sake brewery giving him tons, but doesn't have enough food to secure anything else, and now B's just kind of ripping him to shreds bit by bit. And with these crossbows behind, they can really just kind of stand up and pick these Sams off little by little. The spears are just kind of cannon fodder at this point. As long as the crossbows are alive, B is a scary, scary force to reckon with.
And for some reason, Numudan just decides to turn and fight there on the spot, just mano a mano, and it does not work out, clearly. It's just way too many spears, way too many crossbows. The knights soaking up a bunch of the arrow fire from these Yumi as well. Once again, Numudan's mask gets shaved in half. And now B is the one who smells blood and starts pushing more aggressively. Of course, his units are so slow to reinforce, being infantry mainly. So he has to be careful, but still, outside of the base here for Numudan, he's able to severely outmass and keep winning these fights. Only 4 mounted samurai left. And Numudan's food is still very unimpressive at this stage of the game. He just can't get the transition going. The Matsuri is full. He needs a second Matsuri, which then needs plenty of Yatai trades to actually get a decent gather rate.
Meanwhile, B continuing to add granary-less farms. No granaries in sight whatsoever, but fully online economically regardless. Boy, he's even got the villager lead at this point with the 2 TCs. I feel like that's kind of paid off at this point now. With a sizable villager lead, that even makes his economy just that much better. Militarily up by 20 units, the value up by double of what Numudan has. Now losing those 2 relics, essentially, just sitting on the open. Not a good spot for Numudan here. Feels like B has a very commanding lead at this point.
That's what's so shocking to me, so Sokotan. Like, he goes that second DC. He doesn't have Song. He doesn't have Yuan. He's going farms without granaries. He still does just such a brutish push towards Numudan's gold. Gets cleaned up. And then just comes back anyway. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy.
I can see the Reddit post saying China OP already, which I feel like we've seen posts like that for years, on and off.
And they're true every time.
And the taxes got nerfed too, so China didn't get through the patch unscathed. I mean, they've been toned down a little bit too, but yeah. And part of this is we got to give credit to the guy behind the Civ too. B is playing a very clean game.
Just making it clear, of course.
Yeah.
That it's not a case of winning because of China. B is just a stellar player, but it's also just very impressive how we turned that around. Like I don't know. It breaks the game's rules in my opinion. It shouldn't be allowed to be this good, but whatever.
You should not be allowed to be this good, and yet he is here. As you see, astronomical clock tower coming in. Yeah, this game, it's not over, but it already feels. It just feels really bad for Numudan. You gotta start wondering, okay, what can he do to get back in this? Is there something he can do to get back in this? He's now down, I think, 4 relics to 1. He lost one that got yoinked right away by B. just insult to injury. Add some lemon juice to the wound. Meanwhile, you're able to push this away. You now have, looks like, a second town center of your own. Is it enough? Like, what do you do from here? How do you start clawing your way back? I mean, thankfully, there is no granaries for B. So now that we have the second Matsuri next to a second town center, you can maybe start catching up. That requires a lot of time. A lot of time and a lot of ability not being pressed in while you do that. So, like, it's not, strictly speaking, over. Something could happen. B could make a critical flaw. But I'm sitting here scratching my head wondering what that would be. Maybe another fight like he had earlier. As he dives in here, this might be a little aggressive on B's part. Again, he's got a lot of crossbows behind it, though, so could be able to do an okay job trading. The front line looking a little thin here for B. Crossbows and start kiting real quick as the mounted samurai have their eyes set on them.
Yeah, I was going to say it right as that fight began, that when you said he needs another fight like that, and as soon as the fight engaged, I could tell this is going to be one of those fights. There just simply isn't enough units there for B to stand and fight, and he realizes that as he loses another engagement, but it wasn't any crippling loss. Most of his backline got away behind it, and he's raiding, of course, alongside this as well. Up to 15 economic kills at this stage, and I mean, B's full economic pop. 131 villages. That's a great place to call it here for China. And the food is piling up. The gold is already there. Imp is definitely on the cards here for B. But I mean, Numudan, the issue is, right, like, you've had these knights all game long, and yeah, B's put you under heavy pressure, and he has good defenses, but you have to find some damage, right? You need to sneak in some knights and just offset B's tempo here. Like, you can't just have uninterrupted taxes, uninterrupted food income here as China. It's just, there's no civ in the game that can cope with that, outside potentially like a Basset if they're also undisturbed, but other than that, China is king in the late game, and just allowing them to get there undisturbed is a very tough position to play from. You can see that manifest here.
You, how many bad fights would it take for Numudan to get back in this? Because one really isn't enough.
No.
Two, I mean, here's another fight where he cleans up, but it doesn't feel like, again, he's not doing any lasting damage. If he can just keep throwing stuff into the meat grinder, he is producing fast enough, whereas Numudan is just kind of everything he can do, just kind of stay alive and not keep hemorrhaging villagers as he's starting to do here.
I mean, the fights, especially the recent ones, have actually been really good for Numudan. It's as good as you can hope for. So he's bought himself some time here and plenty. I mean, now B is actually struggling to remass, and again takes an unfavorable engagement here. He can't win this fight either. I guess he's really tunnel visioning on this position at the front. He'd love to secure the side, but I don't think that's an option any longer.
And if Numudan could just get in the backline and do some real damage, you wonder if he could get in this game and get to a point where he can maybe steal the advantage away. He's moving out and sallying forth here. And meanwhile, B, once B gets that defender's advantage again, though, that resupply is going to be so much easier than it was when he was just kind of throwing him away sparingly at the corner of the map. Now he's got a pretty good sized mass. Maybe not quite enough to contest what Numudan has just yet, but again, that defender's advantage starts kind of taking over.
That it does. And B's just done an excellent job in securing the map for himself too behind this. We see the walls towards the left now going up, stone walls for that matter, and ahead of the trade post and ahead of the site is exactly where you want them. Combined with the south side is double keep there even. A lot of infrastructure too. Just, he's sort of encircling the map, coming from the flanks, and now pushing to the center to drop the Barbican. It's really good long-term play here by B. Just thinking of how these zones of control will develop throughout the course of the game, and as it gets later and later, these zones of control become more established. And he wants to make sure that his is larger than Numudan's. These stone walls will certainly help with that.
A little bit. Again, another fight that I don't think you can win right here. This looks like a really good engagement for Numudan. How many of these fights does it take to Numudan to get into this and get into a winning position? It's taken a while. This fight actually may not be as good as I thought initially. These mounted samurai, though, are just so tanky. They should be able to break through, and they do. A little bit more costly, but the Yumi Ashigato behind this really helping to pick and out the back lines of B. And now on top of the villagers, if he could get some kills here, this could be actually a really nice little pickup for Numudan.
Yeah, I think B might have played around a little bit too much this game, right? A few too many bad engagements, a few too many just forced fights that were misread, and now it's reached a stage where Numudan has an end game level army outside of your base. And B, you can't even get the numbers back together to remass. Even trade, like the greed here is unprecedented, man. That's insane. And it's
Right
punished.
into the town center, just getting punished. Absolutely. Look at the worker kills now, 20 to 12. Now, again, there's still a good 20 villager lead, but suddenly at the second town center, Numudan has made up lost ground. And I was asking how many fights. I guess the answer is 4 or 5 of these really good fights gets you back in. And sure enough, no Imperial Age ever came in from B. I think that's another critical thing here. There was never an Imperial Age tech up. Had B sat back maybe and teched up, I think this would be a very different game. Instead, he kind of stayed on the offensive, kept throwing units into the meat grinder. His economy was good enough to be doing that, but unfortunately for him, Numudan has been catching up, and now Samurai, for the first time, forcing the villagers to flee to the hills in the back line of B.
Yeah, I'm shook, honestly. Like, I don't understand how we even ended up in this position. Well, I do understand, but I'm just very surprised. It's just, yeah, it's just too many bad engagements. Just too much greed here from B. Actually just underestimating Numudan's strength in this position as a Sengoku, which is not something you want to do even now. Sure, they're weaker than they were, but these are still Takeda level 3 mounted samurai here. A lot of extra health, a lot of extra attack speed, mounted deflective armor as well, just way better than Japanese knights in this position. The Yumi are also just better than what Japanese would have. So you're dealing with a better Japanese at this point in time, and I mean the game's over, Sokoden.
Game's
B
over.
is
Yeah,
not getting out of this.
For B. An incredible turnaround. Well, and you know, Numudan got that second town center up and got that second Matsuri up and filled it with farms. Look at his food income now.
Yep.
2,400 a minute. I mean, that was the difference. He just bought himself time. And I was kind of saying that first fight was like, this is a good fight. He needs time. He needs to do a lot more of these. And then suddenly you look up 3 or 4 more great engagements for Numudan later, and you're like, well, you got the time, and now you get the payoff. Kind of an incredible amount of tenacity to stick through it, keep defending, and then be able to turn the tide and win what looked like a losing fight. Now, reclaiming the advantage and claiming what's going to be game number 2 here, going to under Numudan now. It's going to tie up the series.
It's an extraordinary amount of patience shown here by Numudan, and it bore so much fruit for him, right? I mean, even after winning a bunch of those engagements, he did not overextend onto B's side and try to force too much, kind of like B had done this game at some points. He just kept massing, right? Just keep getting that mounted samurai count up and take these good fights. This is how you make sure that against what is a stronger economy like the Chinese, if you have a weaker economy but a better army compared to your matchup, like this game is a great example of that. You have to make sure that you take those fights very carefully and advantageously to offset that superior eco up to this extent. I mean, just look how ahead Numudan is in destroyed value, over 20,000 at this point. 2.5 thousand almost. It's like more than that now. It's absolutely incredible how many resources he has ahead. And I think part of it might be just a little bugged, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe some replaced landmarks, but even if you take that out of the equation, it's at least 10,000, which, I mean, at that point, like, this makes complete sense.
Takeaways from this game: mounted samurai are better than Chinese lancers, pound for pound.
Oh, yeah.
They just are. That deflective armor also, I think, went a long way in taking the hit and the brunt from the crossbows that B had. Able to take that initial volley and keep fighting, get through that front line, then get onto the back line. Azumi Ashigata, we've mentioned a couple times, aren't really anything to write home to grandma about, but the mounted samurais are, and they have been tanky enough to deal with that. They haven't been cleared off by the crossbows. Now at this point we see B kind of struggling forward, trying to keep things going. He's got villagers, he just doesn't have military. He's trying to scale up something in the back of this. But now the problem, here's the real problem, is he has been lost for so much time. We got the sword hunt statue coming up. Numudan will be in Imperial Age with a full contingency of military to go with it. So this game feels quite over. Now, we've already thought the game was going to be over once, and then Numudan able to take all these fights and get back into it. But this feels more like a death knell. I don't know how you come back from a whole age down and a military down. Now, 22 Lancers will help, but I think the damage has been done here.
Well, B is going to try. I mean, there's clearly a stubbornness present here from B, which I do understand. I think he's frustrated with his position and is not willing to let it up easily, understandably so. I mean, he was in such a great spot this game. The triple pagoda relic, set up farms, a great map split that favors him. This is not a position you want to give up easily, so I completely understand this. So he's going to try. Yeah. As you mentioned, the Lance numbers are climbing, but Imp is in now with the Sword Hunt statue. The elite upgrades are on the way. Mounted Samurai are almost up to that elite status, and I mean, there's nothing stopping them at that stage. You could have 20 spears and it's hopeless. If you could have 40 spears and it's still hopeless. Even 60, I would say. If you give B 60 spears right now, I'm not sure it's actually enough against so many elite mounted samurai. It's just
if it was. Look at the bank. I mean, Numudan's got 5,000 food. He's got 1,200 gold, and then to boot, I mean, they're so tanky. Like you said, I don't even think even if they could kill them, I don't know if they could. But moreover, I think B hasn't surrendered here yet because he's sitting on 100+ villagers. It's like your economy is still alive.
Yeah,
you still have a lot of infrastructure. You just don't have a military, and that's what he's been trying to reclaim. He's got these lancers coming out, but now again with the Imperial upgrades, that's kind of the knife in the heart.
There's always a possibility that your opponent slips up, right? And B's perfectly aware of that. Especially someone who is, especially someone who is theoretically weaker, right? Like seed-wise, B is very well known, very established, just more consistent than Numudan, who is obviously an incredible player, really, really talented, and just getting better and better every tournament, it feels like. But in these positions, the lack of experience can manifest and make you choke a little bit. That is what B is hoping for, but Numudan is, knowing him myself, he's very cool, calm, and collected. He's not going to slip in this position, and is going to make sure of it here. Once again, a little back off in the fight just to get another wrap around on the front line, which allows his samurai to break through virtually effortlessly here. And all the reinforcements from B are falling like flies out of these production buildings. The food income is slightly stabilizing, but without Imperial Age, without a big mass of hand cannoneers, this is not an army you're ever going to beat with B in the Castle Age.
Well, and to add insult to injury here, those samurai heal afterwards.
Yeah.
They've got the Ryokan. They are healing after this too. So they'll go off, heal up again, and they'll come back. They just took a fire shot from the Barbican, so it'll take a moment for it to activate, but they'll start getting that big health backwards again, and it's going to be fine. They're going to come back at full strength, close to it. And on top of that, we've got, I almost said Royal Bloodlines, but, what is it? It's not for French. What is it?
Biology.
Biology. Thank you. Yeah. Basically the same thing, but
just another
special extra.
Another massive injection in the pedigree bloodline of these horsemen. It's going to make them even tankier than beforehand.
As if they couldn't be good enough, as if they weren't already massively tanky.
Wait, pedigree's just for dogs, right? I don't think that works. Am I wrong?
No, pedigree works.
Oh yeah, it does. Okay, there we go.
Works for humans too. We don't use it too often, but
Spirit Away though, somehow he finds it.
Yeah, I say he has gotten up to a Spirit Away, so he's gonna be in age 4. He's got 24 spears. Now you were saying 60 spears wouldn't be enough. I'm wondering what 24 Imperial spears will do.
Yeah,
and it's 37 Imperial. I don't see it. Not with the biology upgrade coming in.
I recommend you cover your children's eyes when that engagement happens, because it's not going to be safe for work. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, Spirit Away. I don't know why we don't go Grey Wall Gatehouse, to be honest. Not that it's gonna do too much, I guess. I mean, Spirit Way will give a bit of healing when you have those unique dynasty units, which there are currently none of on the field. Well, really, he just wants Imperial Age, I'm pretty sure. But the gold is a struggle now for B. The gold is, I think, officially out completely. And we did see him trading earlier, but trying to set up trade in this position would be very ambitious indeed. He actually took one of Numudan's gold mines, I think, there with that keep in the north side. So he managed to get 1 extra gold compared to Numudan, I'm pretty sure. Mind of the taxes, he should have still pretty steady income, as well as the relics. That's not gonna work. Wait, Okay, I thought that might have been a B wall attempt. Like, what are we doing?
Like, what? What are we looking at? That'd have been really funny. You know, at this point, the military numbers are even, but the army value is not. These mounted samurai are incredibly scary. A bombard to support them behind. Tsunyumi Ashigaru for good measure. B is Imperial Age and has equal numbers, at least. And, you know, his economy has survived. Outside of the fact that he doesn't have a ton of gold coming in. Economy survived, but now we get a big engagement here. We'll see just how good the mounted samurai are.
No, this is...
Straight into the spears. It's just not going to matter.
It's not going to matter. They are... This is like a knife through butter, Sokoton, is what these mounted samurai do right now. Did even one of them die? Three died. 3 mounted samurai died to 50 spears. Seems good to me. Seems fine. Yeah, it's look, for everyone saying balanced and stuff, this is balanced, right? These are late stage Imperial Age elite Sengoku knights with biology. We have no elite infantry tactics on the other side. We have no hand cannoneers. This is exactly the result that you would expect to happen. That is the result both of these players expected would happen, I guarantee it. And the result is this, that B is just getting absolutely massacred in his own base at this stage. After a long and arduous fight this game where he had the lead, Numudan perseveres through and brings the fight to B's farmland when it hurts most.
Oof, rough go. And you know, Myriad, you were really down on Sengoku before, saying they were really nerfed. They really weren't just shadow of their former glory. If this is a shadow of their former glory, man, I don't know. That said, this game, I think, is a lot more than just the civs behind it. Both these players have made some very interesting and critical choices on both ends that have led us to this point. Because let's not forget, B had this game in hand, it felt like. And then 4 or 5 really bad engagements later, Numudan in the lead, and now just rampaging through the base. And it feels like this has got to be it.
It is. I mean, yeah, like, I did say Sengoku is definitely weaker than before, which they are, but... Also said it's quite impressive how after so many nerfs they're still like just a solid mid-tier Civ, right? And they're here to deliver. It's just crazy. But of course, big credits to Numudan for the way he has played this and his impeccable patience even now, right? Like he's so ahead now. You could make a case that he can just like sit on top of those keeps repeatedly and be fine, but it's a risk. It's still late game China. It's still 3 Pagoda China, right? B has no gold, so there's never going to be a respectable hand cannon aim as this game, I think. So I don't see the road to recovery for B, not without somehow securing trade. If he's able to secure trade and this goes for another 5-10 minutes, then we definitely have a possibility for China to emerge victorious here. But at this point, it's very tough. I mean, the only reason Numudan isn't able to, like, very decisively kill B right now is the fact that he himself is out of gold, right? He doesn't have gold either. He has a southern side, 2 relics, and now might be looking to capture the center one, but I think we have a little bit of trade starting, it looks like.
Seems to be.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Definitely got a little bit going on here.
Wait, that's 70? We definitely
see the beginnings. That's a lot of stuff there. We can see a lot of trade about to ramp up here for Numudan.
Is that 85 traders for Numudan? No way, right?
That can't be possibly right.
No, there's no way. This is 85 at the top left.
Bugged. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's bugged.
24.
Clearly, 24. That's a much more reasonable number. I wonder if that's what's causing that bug to show that many.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's over triple. Oh yes, I think the Yatai trader counts. So that's like every Yatai trader throughout the course of this
every
game.
One of
I
those
think
counts to the number. That would make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. That does make sense. Once again, I mean, B leaning back on what in theory should be a saving grace here. Spears and crossbowmen, of course, not counting the fact that Yumi do counter them. But
he's actually got more units than Numudan.
Yeah, I mean it's very cheap units, right? And you can easily afford crossbows just through taxes. But the issue is it's the reality is it's not enough, and it's never going to be enough, really. we need hand cannoneers here as B, but he can't afford them. So like he just can't make them realistically. He can't get enough of a count. I mean, even these crossbows, he needs elite infantry tactics for the spearmen, and we also need incendiary arrows for the crossbowmen. That's just to have somewhat of a chance on the defensive against this composition from Numudan. And I don't think we have either yet for B, right? Maybe we have one. Okay, we don't have incendiary. That's obvious now.
Yashigaru patrolling out, taking a look. Numudan rather risking them than his very, very expensive mounted samurai. His gold-plated mounted samurai. More keeps from B. This is kind of all he can do at this point, right? He's got those stone veins. He's able to put this up. If he can secure his trade, keep it going for long enough, there is a world where he comes back from this. Because if he can secure gold and get the hand cannon mass, then suddenly it's game on once again. And this could be an incredibly long game, which is already a long game, 50 minutes in. It's been a real back and forth one for game 2. We've at different points thought that B had this game in hand, ready to call it. And we've also thought Numudan has basically had it, which he still has, I would say, a very commanding lead. The longer this trade goes untouched from B, the scarier this gets. Now, only 42 spears, 20 more in the queue. The Knights of Numudan seeing this say, no, we can't allow this to happen. The trade cannot resume unabated. We will at least take a couple for us. And I think once Numudan decides to clamp down, now that he's got 3 of these bombards, he's going to start ripping these things to shreds bit by bit. If he needs to tear down this base brick by brick, that's what he's going to do. As we see the first shots fired from the bombard, the samurai standing right on top of him.
Indeed. At this stage of the game, it is the trade that is the win condition for either player. So, Numudan is comfortable parking himself up and slowly rolling forward, like you said, just dismantling every single piece of infrastructure here from B to lead to a slow and painful death, which has been a little while coming this game so far, to be honest. B has been on the back foot for what feels like over 10, 15 minutes at this point, and is just barely able to survive because of that incredible income. And of course, his efforts so far with the 3 relics. He has been set up excellently for this game, which is why he's still alive right now, but it is slipping every passing moment. The crossbows are going to look to trade out some hits here. B knows he has to engage, and he's going to make his final stand now. The spearmen brace as the mounted samurai move in position like a wave here to wash over B's base. The bombards themselves are helping out. They do plenty of damage up against all infantry units with their bonus damage. And the mounted samurai are simply not falling fast enough. Once again, B's front line melts and his back line is left exposed to the Yumi, to the mounted samurai. Granted, a lot of numbers are going down. The power of incendiary arrows now being present for B means that a lot of these mounted samurais are cleaned up. But the reinforcement queue is endless here for Numudan. Even now, his army is pretty much fully remassed. B's as well, almost back up to 200.
Needs to consider, I think Numudan needs to consider maybe a mangonel or 2 just to clear out those crossbows. Like there's enough mass here, enough trash armor. You don't want to be taking trades like that constantly, because B can do that all day. You have gold coming in, but you don't like spending it that much. I would like to see, I think we're going to see a Great Wall Gatehouse here on that little half wall. That could be very annoying. I think Numudan would have really benefited having just a couple mangonels there.
Yeah, some
Springles to deal with the spears. Just some kind of extra line of fire.
I think mangonels.
Samurai at risk.
Yeah, mangonels, a couple of them would do the trick. I also think though just Yumi will actually do the trick. Yeah, like and you don't sacrifice the speed. I mean, before that fight we had like 20 Yumi and 50 mounted samurai, right? So obviously like it's gonna be quite tough for B because of that. But with mainly Yumi now reinforcing with constant kiting and shooting and trading, this should definitely be way more favorable for Numudan, although he decides to once again brute engage here. Plenty of spearmen flanking around to try and get on top of the bombards. They get some good connections, but they're so slow that they're unable to actually bring the bombards down. The wall has fallen yet again.
It did. He just lost all the resources.
Yeah, the res are gone.
Huge.
Wow. That is disastrous,
blow.
Yeah, that's
trying to
very big.
up.
Somehow, though, like, he actually breaks the front line yet again. I mean, as soon as the university upgrades are in, as long as you're saying back and forth game, and it was, but I didn't realize we're not done yet.
We might be still in this. Your mounted samurai numbers are gone. The crossbows, finally, with incendiaries, able to break through the mass with all the spears in front of them. Now, the Yumi Ashigaru are still a problem. They do counter these crossbows. The tricky thing is that Numudan has to keep the siege alive. He does not want to lose these bombards. He loses the Treb. These bombards are really weak, and they're getting peppered the entire time way through. Meanwhile, some mounted Sams coming to the defense, but boy, both sides just throwing stuff into the meat grinder. This is turning to an absolutely devastating war of attrition. Both sides just refusing to give up here.
War of attrition is perfectly put. I mean, I don't know how... It's crazy to me B is still in this without gold. It's just the remass of these crossbows and fighting on the defensive. Numudan's still way ahead in destroyed value, but it's also the population efficiency at this point. That's what's interesting about a civ like Sengoku. They have one of the most population efficient units in the game, in the form of the knight, of course, the mounted samurai, but at the same time one of the least pop efficient units in the form of the Yumi. So this leads to this situation where the army is both strong and weak at the same time because of these reasons. So doesn't seem like Yumi are cutting it, surprisingly, for him, which they should, really. Maybe he just needs to keep actively trading. Yeah.
That's kind of why I was alluding to maybe a mangonel or two, and I think that's kind of my thought on that, is that the efficiency of the pop just isn't really there. The Yumi are really good at these kind of like really good in this situation on paper, but you just can't afford to have that many of them and take away from everything else you need. A mangonel or two here would just clean this up. Instead, we've got the bombards, which Numudan's done a good job of getting some vills to heal and repair those up, so they are back to full strength. But again, another engagement here where the mounted samurai are getting picked apart. There's just one too many crossbows here. The Yumi, though, for their part, also able to stand up and really do a good number as well.
Yeah, the Yumi...
So we've got to change. We're no longer looking at spears. We're looking at palace guards.
Yeah, he's actually able to afford them now yet again as the trade resumes for a little bit and the taxes keep coming in. Numudan has been doing excellent focus firing onto the backline from B. You can see how rapidly those crossbow numbers thinned out, which presents a huge concern now because the massive remass into pure mounted samurai behind this, with now the limited crossbow numbers and no more spear numbers. I mean, I have to really question this Palace Guard transition because, yeah, I mean, they are tankier, but they just tickle these mounted samurai socket in. And this is the result. Once again, Numudan is threatening to break through.
Why Palace Guards and not just Lancers?
I think the idea would be to actually send them on wide flanks to raid. But we need, ideally, Yuan for that, which we don't have. And the mounted samurai will clean them easily, so like I think it's thinking a bit longer term, but there's bigger concerns now, right?
I guess maybe another thought too is that they'll take longer to die, so the crossbows can do more damage, maybe,
right?
But
that too, yeah.
It does feel like a very expensive price tag cannon fodder.
Definitely does, especially when you don't yet have the optimal backline in the form of hand cannoneers here. That's what I mean. That's what B's needed for so long, but it is tough to afford for sure. Way more pricier than the crossbows, but with the massive bang that Numudan has behind this uninterrupted trade for so very long, massive food income, also virtually uninterrupted. I think he sold a whole bunch of food as well, if I'm not mistaken, for more gold. 30 mounted samurai in queue, consistent 200 pop. We are seeing B's final stand.
Yeah, you can see the number of supply on his side was once close to 200, was now down to 120, 110. That will finally end the suffering of all the villagers and units in this game. We are tied 1-1 with Numudan taking a very dramatic game 2.
Dramatic indeed. That was one of the most back and forth games we've had the entire tournament so far, I'm pretty sure.
Look at the military value.
It's just the zigzags. It's actually comical. Well, I mean, that's exactly what you want from an AoE game. Just nail biting all the way through. It's crazy how back and forth that was. I mean, we have a lot of back and forth games at the pro level, of course, but to this level, this
one felt extreme.
Yeah.
Well, and it felt extreme because I don't think you could tell it was back and forth because of a little bit of mishaps and a couple of misplays that were being done. You get the sense that he was winning that game, and then I mean we counted 4, I think, 5 different engagements that really seemed miscalculated on B's side, and that gave Numudan that edge. Then Numudan kind of faltered there a little bit, didn't get on the trade heavy enough, didn't really do enough damage to B's economy. B had a real shot of sticking that one through and maybe coming back. There was a couple points where I was like, ooh, maybe. But then in the end, I think that Great Wall Gatehouse getting torn down, losing the resources for that, making the Palace Guard transition probably wasn't the right play. I think he was trying to shake it up and do something to try and get an edge, but in the end, Numudan grinds it out for the win. What a game.
What a game. Yeah, I think that was a huge detail with the Great Wall Gatehouse getting bombarded down. So much lost resources, especially the gold. I'm very surprised to not even have seen an attempt into hand cannoneers, to be honest. I mean, there were times when, like even at this stage, for example, oh no, this is the castle fight, never mind. But there were times when B had a decent gold bank even at that later stage, but not a single hand cannoneer has been made, I don't think, and I think you just have to try realistically. I mean, there's a case to be made that crossbows are more cost effective against armored units, which I think is still the case today, but still,
Mounted samurai
damage
are
output
just so tanky.
Yeah, you need the massive damage.
Efficient units, you got to get them off the field. It was tough, a tough game for both sides. I mean, we even saw relics getting yoinked from each other. I mean, we had some relics pass hands, which is pretty incredible for a game like this. I mean, just the back and forth. Goodness. I mean, lesser players would have not lasted as nearly as long in both ways. So massive battles and a massive game. But, after all is said and done, 52 minutes, 55 minutes as we were in, we go now to game 3, tied up, and we got to do it all over again in just a little bit. We're going to be going to 4 Lakes. B's going to have a really good shot here with Knights Templar on a water map. And Numudan's going to be taking JD.
Yeah, B is the one with the optimal draft for 4 Lakes here, right? It's always an interesting detail when it comes to the drafting of these civs. There's normally sort of, when there's water maps in the mix, there's always the question of when do you commit to those water civs within the draft. That's going to give you a big edge on a map like 4 Lakes. But in this case, right, it is the only water map in the current pool that the players have chosen. So, B takes Tuklak, B takes KT. Amazing civilizations for 4 Lakes, but not great anywhere else on the maps, right? So it's always a very tough decision that you have to make, and you have to really carefully think of this long term as to how it is going to affect the series. I mean, B, of course, picked up the opening game, now lost the second with one of his prime civilizations, Chinese, up against one of Numudan's also sort of best civs, I would say, but not his top 3. So now the series is tied, and B takes us to where he's at a huge advantage, which is 4 Lakes, right? We have KT and Tuklak up against Mongols and JD, and it ends up in KT up against JD, which, yeah, I mean, KT's incredible on water, right? But JD's one of those civs that, they can force a fight, and JD's going to be very happy fighting. And on 4 Lakes, that's tough to avoid.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. And this map feels smaller to me, so I feel like it feels like you're a little closer. The lakes take up just a lot of space in the map. There's not as much room to maneuver. Everything kind of gets funneled into the middle a little bit. So I think I'm curious to see how good KT remains here in face of JD. I think at this point B just lost I would think B would be really frustrated after this last loss. I would think that he's looking to really take a really decisive win here in game 3, because you really feel like if you're going in, I always kind of wonder how the player mindset is here. You win game 1, feeling really good. Go to game 2, you're winning that game, then you almost throw that game in a sense with all those bad fights. Then you move into 4 Lakes with a really good civ. I don't hate the matchup. I think JD's an interesting choice here. Like you don't have to worry about Mongols here. You take JD. I think B's looking for a comeback win on this one. I would be ready to rock and roll. So we'll see what happens as we dive into game number 3. B in the green, down here in the red as Joan of Arc, Numudan.
4 Lakes is the map of choice for B, who, after a very difficult fight, loses out in game 2. And Numudan ties up the series 1-1. It's going to open dock here on the south side. So no real worry of a spear opening, apparently. Numudan doesn't seem concerned about that at all, which I think he probably should be. B. That's something he's going to opt for, but no. He's actually going to go for his own dock. I guess it's a bit trickier to go spears up against JD, because the turnaround time after feudal with JD herself, putting on the defense, is a bit stronger than the archer transition from French. So he's going to look to outboom instead here, which makes sense. I mean, still, even today, with the 250 price docks for KT, the more fishing ships they add, the more docks they can make, the more incredible the economy is going to feel. It pays off so much. Numudan has his own bonuses, right? Every dock is also a house.
Just a fun little change. I actually like that when they made that adjustment.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's one of those things that, like, I feel like JD French on water, like, feels okay. Having that makes it feel a little nice. It's a nice little bonus. With especially with the other things you have going on. I feel like that one in particular is kind of nice. Like, it saves you 50 wood a pop, but feels good though. Thanks to the early Dark Age. I feel like that for that Dark Age play feels a lot nicer. Meanwhile, KT though, just so good, because who needs lumber mills when you can just make the wood just magically appear in your wherever that goes for your storage. One of the reasons why Knights Templar is so good is just their wood economy is just incredibly well made up. So regardless, we got the first couple fishing ships coming out, and we are underway here.
Oh, a little shimmy on the fishing ship. Yeah.
Doing the little fishy dance.
You saw nothing.
So why, we're looking at here the Templar, why on the shoreline fish, not the deep sea fish?
So there's mats behind this. Don't know the distance exactly. I think it's the dock's range. Beyond it, I think, it means that shoreline fish actually get more income. So we can see the circle. The deep sea fish is slightly beyond it. I think that means that shoreline fish actually gives more income than the deep sea. Or maybe it's slightly beyond it, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Because it's traveling less to drop it off, even though it's
exactly
slower gather rate.
That's right. Whereas for Numudan, the thing is, this dock with the 50 pop as a house, it's like the only reason JD and French are actually pretty solid on these maps. It's kind of fascinating. Or the singular main reason, I want to say.
Second dock already placed up for Numudan. Looks like a second dock's going to be coming up here in a second for B as well on the north corner, unless I'm... Yep, there it is. Both players claiming their 2 respective lakes. Now, I have a theory. I was talking about this with Whammon last weekend, that on this map, it feels like everyone always goes to the lake on their left first. I was wondering what you thought about that. If you think that's true, or if you feel that maybe that's just anecdotal, but what do you think?
No, you're right.
More than not, everyone goes left.
And there's actually a very good reason for that. Can you think? Little quiz for you. Can you possibly think why?
Whammon and I were chatting about it, and we came to the conclusion that because your villagers start at the bottom of the TC and the way the TC is angled, your villagers are closer to that lake first.
Exactly right. That is pretty much the only reason. Similar case of
everything else is pretty equidistant, it feels like. So
if you remember before the sort of wave of sheep changes, right? Gorge was especially known for this. There's a similar problem. Well, it was a bit of a sort of fairness issue with scouts, right? Where if you spawn in the north side of Gorge, you're at a big advantage when it comes to scouting, because your scouts at the bottom of the TC, whereas if you spawn on the south, your scouts behind the TC. And there were always like 2 or 3 sheep in the middle on Gorge, but on most maps, Arabia as well. So the player in the north would always get there first, and they'd always have like a 2-3 sheep advantage as a result. It's yeah, it's those things.
Little details.
I know, right?
H2 on the way here for both players. School of Cav, big surprise. And then Knights Hospitaller, also big surprise. If you can't catch sarcasm there. very expected openings here from both players. Not a lot happening here in the Dark Age. We'll move on to the Feudal Age here in just a moment when things should get much more exciting.
Hospitale, personally, for me, surprises me a little bit because, I mean, I might be biased, but I absolutely love Sergeant Horseman up against JD and French on this. It does so well. Oh god.
What's your reasoning behind it? I love picking players who are better than me, picking their minds about it. So why not Hospitalers? What about the Sergeants do you like better?
You have ranged spears that just destroy knights, and then you have Horsemen with 1 extra damage. They also do decent against those knights because of the extra damage, but obviously mainly for the archers. It's so good, Sokoton. I can't go back. I can't go back to
like
KT.
Ranged Joan of Arc though?
Not at all. She just dies to the Horseman.
Yeah.
It feels so good to play. I mean, it's a bit tricky because like you have to be really careful in the fights. You're up against JD anyway. I think it works better against French, honestly, but even against JD, I think you can do okay. Sadly, we're not gonna witness that here. But I mean,
so then explain to the people at home why B is not opting for the Myriad way.
Well, Hospitale is just safe, right? It's just really nice eco. Your villagers can get away safely. They're way tankier. It's going to be great, especially if you're against ranged JD. No longer will it be the 2-hit and then divine arrow threshold for kill on a villager, which if you have a forward wood line like B does, and your villagers also don't travel back either to drop off, you want to make sure they're as hard to kill as possible, because a couple of knights sneak in and they can be devastating, even with JD and her spin. So Hospitale is sort of like, if you're not sure what to go for, like if you don't have a specific plan, just go Hospitale, because it's never going to sort of disappoint you. It's good all the time, right?
That's probably why we're seeing it more often than not. To say, it definitely feels like that's the meta choice here on Four Lakes is go Hospitaller. I have not seen a pro. I mean, I'm sure someone has, but I have yet to cast a game where they've gone for the sergeants there. It's always been the Hospitallers. Seems to be the general choice. I think you're right. It's just the safer bet there overall. Maybe not the fun choice. Meanwhile, some body blocking here with the Pilgrim trying to stop her. She's doing a little Pilgrim shuffle, and she gets in. Praise be, she says. She shuffles in and is able to get through the sacred site, albeit had to dance a little to do it. That's funny.
Yeah, I must have tripped and hurt her ankle, I think. So that happened.
Hobbling to the finish line, but hey, got there either way. Gets to 98 gold. That's a nice little boost. Would have been an excellent pickup for Numudan, but couldn't quite get there. Meanwhile, this villager's in peril. Running for the hills. Will she go down?
Great body
Knight's
blocking.
Going for it. Can't get to the TC in time and does fall. Plus 5 XP. Down 1 Vil. Some good micro here from both players, but Numudan getting the edge on that one.
Yeah, nice little victory there by Numudan. Although, if he loses the knight, it's suddenly not a victory. But
throw it away.
Yeah, he was distracted by another raid on the south side that he was doing. Suddenly, a great play goes into disadvantage. That's just not good for Numudan now. And, I mean, you can see the difference in... Actually, it's not so bad now because of the idle time. But earlier on, we saw 800 food per minute, 800 wood per minute for B, whereas Numudan was 600, 600 because of that sort of nuanced economy with the conversion of wood to food into even more food through the docks. And you can see the amount of military that B is able to possess as a result of it. Of course, it's much lower value than Numudan's with his knights. But B actually is just straight away.
Yeah, no hesitation there. Now, let me ask you this question, Myriad. How many Vils are you willing to trade in for a knight? Like how many Vils, if you had let's say you're the guy with a knight, how many Vils would you be happy to receive for trading in that knight?
I mean,
you got to kill.
Early on, like opening 1 or 2 knights. Yeah. Like it has to be 2 Vils for it to be like even. But ideally 3. Obviously, for you to actually make a profit, yeah. Because the struggle is the way you got to think about trading military for villages is that it's an investment in the long term, right? You invest military to get ahead long term, because in the 1 or 2 minutes after you trade the knight for 2 villages, let's say, you are theoretically behind when it comes to military, in theory, right? Because you traded that for a villager, and it takes a little bit for that difference in economy to actually manifest. So Although in that moment you're at a disadvantage, 2 or 3 minutes down the line, you should have considerably more than your opponent as a result of it, right? If you don't take damage in turn. So it's an investment.
I like a lot of that. So you're saying 2 at minimum to break even,
Yeah,
3 to feel like you're getting ahead. So
exactly.
trading 1 for 1 there, not good.
Never good.
And loses
Yeah.
another one here. Man, B all over them. The prickly porcupine of spears walking around the map saying, come mess with us if you dare. And Numudan down 2 knights early does not feel good.
It's very painful, especially being an age down now. And Numudan, this is classic, right? He gets kind of caught with his pants down a little bit. He gets a surprise age up and is now rapidly trying to match himself. But this is such a common spot where people die or end up falling really far behind in the game. I mean, he kind of has to because there's no aggression point. He wasn't able to. Part of it is the investment to the docks, right? He tried to sort of match the economic investment from B. And up against KT, I mean, you have nice bonuses as JD. The 50 wood you save is huge for sure, and you can really put
Not
the
that
food to
much,
good
though.
use. It's not that much. It's not that much compared to the amount of KT, the amount of efficiency KT gets.
Yeah, Numudan quickly on a back step here. I won't say on the ropes, but definitely on the back step as B just taking some early wins. And that night that just got left out too. I keep thinking about that. How often have most of us as players done that? It's so hard. Usually what sets these players apart from most of the rank and file players in the community is that they can multitask and they have the APM, the brain capacity, the bandwidth, as you will, to focus on multiple things at once and avoid those kind of costly mistakes. Myself, when I do that, that happens all the time. I mean, you know, I have one night here, I'm doing great, did a great job. Then when I look at my night elsewhere, then the first night dies because of just lack of attention. Like that's such a classic tale as old as time for most average players. But at this level, you just don't see that too often. But when it happens, it just feels so bad. And here's those the Genitors. Here's the long range throwing cavalry that you're so fond of, Myriad.
See,
Pretty
it's
good stop there,
interesting.
too.
Yeah, because what you said, I think, is interesting because it doesn't seem like it happens a lot, but it actually happens constantly if you look out for it. There's serious mistakes being made by top level players every single game, constantly, even back to back, right? It's the way it is. It's the reality of the game. And you think mistakes aren't made at the top level. That's not the case at all. There's even sort of more mistakes being made, but obviously there's even more good things being done as a result of it. It's just at this sort of level, there's so much to focus on. There's so much to consider. And APM is as much of a resource as the others. You have to be incredibly careful how you spend it and what you pay attention to, because nothing can be done fully well, right? You can't do everything perfectly. So some things have to be sacrificed in how well they're executed for the greater good. And that is also a big part of what makes a great player, knowing what you can and can't do effectively at all stages of the game.
Yeah, and we do see the best of the best players. But I'm thinking like the Marine Lords, the BCs, like Marine Lord in particular, is known for not making many mistakes. Even he does mess up here and there. And the other thing too is being able to capitalize on those mistakes. You know, like you can make a mistake, but if it goes unnoticed, it goes unnoticed. You know, you can get away with a freebie. At this level of play, these players are also really good at punishing mistakes instantly. So it's interesting how like I don't know. It's like when you like start rising the ladder a little bit, you start rising the ranks, you're becoming a better player, but the games don't feel any easier because the level of competition you're going against is equally as difficult in rising with you.
Yeah.
And we see here some knights and some Genitors getting caught out in the field, just kind of riding past each other, going, hey, oh, wait, what are you doing here? Meanwhile, B moving out with the army. He is sallying forth. That is a lot of spears.
Yeah, this is just a huge blob of an army, just designed to win messy fights, right? You have virtually everything you need here. You have crossbows, you have Genitors, you have spears, you have men-at-arms. This is very hard to contend with for Numudan, because you need so many units to deal with this. You need archers, you need crossbowmen, you also need knights, you also really need potentially men-at-arms here, which Numudan is recognizing. The Genitors as well, like, it's a bit of a meme unit, and yeah, it is for good reason, but there's one thing they do really, really well, and that's kill backline units.
Which Numudan currently has a lot of.
Keeping in mind, of course, the sacred sites as well, right? there's a Kurutai around each of those sacred sites for B, passively from the Castile bonus. And it's a great map for this commandery for that reason. The sites are all in the center. They're normally around the trade post as well as big golds. So being able to have such a huge buff on your side there must feel good as B.
This is a good spot. Good spot for Numudan here with that tower and the Springleton placement. Able to shoo away these. In fact, I think Numudan would not mind the fight here. He would love to get the XP, would love to get JD up to level 3. Funny, both players in Castle Age, they did not stick around in Feudal very long, so JD still on foot. Has yet to become mounted.
And B, once again, forced on the defensive. Numudan, I mean. Kind of similar to last game.
Being H3, JD being H2 would be a huge benefit for Numudan right now. He would really be able to make a lot of use out of that, I think.
Oh, he would love it. Still so far, though, right? Even now, she's only... Yeah. She still has a third of the way to go, which... And I mean, she steps out of line once. She gets instantly killed by these crossbows and genitals, that's for sure. So it's very tricky. Micro units and her at the same time. Double sight now locked in for B. So like an engagement is about to happen here.
Just trying to rally around the tower. Look, moving JD back. Doesn't want to commit to her too much. Just wants to make sure she's close enough to get the XP. Doesn't want to put her in harm's way. You can see her just kind of pacing back and forth like, give me the XP. That's it. There we go. H3 quickly pops up, and now in come the champions. That was exactly what he needs. Now she enters the fray. Good swing right there. The heal. Good timing for that as well. And meanwhile, B has a huge numerical advantage here. He is just pushing in this fight. Maybe the XP was getting in for JD. That's great and all, but unfortunately for Numudan, the fight was being lost. JD just sitting there aura farming, as it were, and not getting anything else done. Meanwhile, B just getting down to the brass tacks.
This is just such a massive amount of units from B. An upgrade advantage as well in terms of melee, which normally doesn't matter that much, but you saw just the sheer amount of men-at-arms and spears both players had. In that sort of a case, it does matter. So the extra armor, the extra damage and extra armor for B's frontline, considering it's bigger as well, made such a huge difference in that fight. Enough so to close out the game and win out a pretty decisive victory for B here. Knights Templar, exactly what you would expect with his draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good win for B right there. JD just just wasn't up in age, wasn't ready to go. Took too long to get up into that point, and even when she was, the army is gone. B just with KT doing KT things.
I mean, KT, since their inception, they've been a force to be reckoned with on any kind of water map. Not much has changed today. They've had a few shaves. They're not nearly as oppressive as they were. They're not unbeatable, but you can still see there's the dock bonus, the wood bonus, the sheer flexibility when it comes to their commanderies allows them to respond appropriately to any and all situations.
This fight, JD just trying to get the XP, but the front line just was not strong enough to hold this for too long. Lots of crossbows in the back. The Genitors just picking off the back line to boot. By the time JD got to age 3, the fight was already pretty much lost.
It's going to be Numudan's choice now. Yeah, even with the tower there, it's like JD doesn't have the same sort of stable, gradual economy like French does with so many discounts, right? JD, I think, is still very strong, and consecration adds up throughout the course of a game, and it's more flexible, right? You can consecrate any production building and not just stables or ranges like the discount French gets, but it's way slower. And the weaker, slower early game also makes it slower in the long term. And just picking the right units is very difficult against KT in general because of how many unique options they have. I mean, the Genitor, right? Like, what do you make against that? Do you make horsemen? Do you make men-at-arms to hold the line? It's tough because there's already spears as well, right? So it's a difficult choice. And Numudan is going to look to... Unit. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's another unit you don't want to buff too much because if it gets out of hand, it's something you never want to face, right? All these mounted range units.
It doesn't fit the rock paper scissors very nicely, I think, is why. It just kind of fits in a weird zone where it just like What do you do with this? How do you counter it? It's an odd unit, so it's probably an okay spot. Looking ahead though, Dry Arabia, Macedonians sneaking through. What is? I'm curious. It's been a while since I've chatted with you, Myriad. I'm curious. Macedonians has been, from what I've seen, one of the stronger civs post patch, and since its introduction, we haven't seen it sneak through. We've seen it banned in a lot of drafts. It goes through in this one. What do you think of its use here on Dry Arabia?
It's just a monstrous civ, to be honest with you. It has no bad matchups whatsoever in the entire roster. Not a single one, I don't think. Outside of, like, Ottomans, right? I mean, that's different, but Ottomans isn't a tier of its own, honestly.
I'm looking at it right now, and actually, Ottomans, according to AoE4 World, it's got a pretty good win rate there too, 53.9. The only one that says it's bad is actually Order the Dragon.
Okay, so well, I can see that. So, I guess, yeah, the lower levels I can kind of see how that happens, because you have to be really careful against the crossbows.
Let me look at rank level. You're right.
Yeah, it's above. I can see that.
Conquer 4+. Let's see, where's it at? Let me take a look now.
That's right, guys.
Macedonians.
What the area forward win rate say is law.
It's law, it's law, absolute law. Okay, yeah. So there's a little more nuance here at the high level, but you got way less games too.
Yeah, it's tough.
But regardless, I mean, I was doing that kind of be silly. Just I have AoE4 World open just for references, but it is a good civ. There's a reason why it's not getting through a lot of these drafts. There's also a reason we don't see Ottomans, we don't see Byzantines, we don't see Malians. Those civs are also equally good. We're at a point here where there's so many civs in the game. We got 23 right now, I think. 23 civs. We'll have 25 by the end of the year. You can't ban everything.
No, you can't.
Some good civs are going to sneak through every single time. We're seeing that in the drafts quite consistently. Now, one I have not seen, actually, I have not seen the newest civ played. I have yet to see Jin Dynasty played at this level, and I think there's a reason why. I don't think it's actually that. I don't think it's a super strong civ by any means. So I've yet to see that one played at the highest level. Maybe get a sneak at that one of these days. But there's no surprise that Macedonians normally gets banned. Ottomans gets banned almost immediately. Malians, Byzantines often getting banned. I mean, they're really, really strong civs. But again, with 23 of them in the pool, you can't ban them all.
You can't, and you can't plan for all of them either. I mean, we just had Lancaster 2TC on Lipany against French, right? Like not like you don't plan for that in the draft, right? Like that's not something you can possibly really predict. Definitely not consistently, at least. Even against a player like B, who loves to play Lancaster very often. It's just it's reached a point where you cannot plan for all possible matchups. You cannot always get the matchup you desire. The snipe system further enforces that, right, as well. It's often out of your control. So it's down at this point where it's at this point with so many civs and the way drafting is now, where intuition and genuine deeper understanding of the game will be way heavier rewarded than in the past, when planning was so much more important, and thinking very carefully and drafting accordingly to what you've prepared for, and what's likely to come up in terms of meta and strength. Right, that's way harder now than before, and you just have to actually be good, right? Like really good.
I mean, you always had
better
to be
than
good,
before,
but now you've got to be good with pretty much anything. And yeah, with this many matchups, you can do the math. 23 times, all the other. I don't have time to do that large math in my mind.
Anybody got time?
There's enough matchups now that, I mean, I'm looking at just the chart of the win rates in the columns, and there's just so many different matchups. There's over 100 now, easy. 200, 300. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's only going to keep getting bigger and bigger as we keep adding civs to the game. And then with each civ being so asymmetric compared to like Age of Empires 2, where there's a lot more similarities between a lot of the groupings of civs, it's getting pretty crazy. So, but that said, we dive in here in just a couple seconds to Dry Arabia. Roos is back and doing some 2TC shenanigans. I've noticed, and I've really enjoyed, Myriad, that with the changes to the TC cost, we're seeing more TC play. It's been a long time since we've seen players opting and then successfully playing a 2TC game, but we see it a lot more often. I wonder if we'll see it here with Roos as we dive into game Number 4, it's currently Numudan 1, B with 2 points. We're looking right now at Numudan in the red as Macedonian Dynasty here in the western corner, and in the eastern corner in the green, 3DB in the green as the Rus. And there's that 2 hunting cabin opening. We've seen that quite often with the sheep. Notice that they bring the sheep in as well. So the villagers on each of these cabins are going to immediately get onto, or that's not a sheep right there. That's just a villager.
Yeah, he brought it back, actually.
The sheep right there. Yeah, he put the sheep right there. And then you immediately start just harvesting the sheep right next to the hunting cabin. So nice little bit of micro there. You know, Roos has always had lots of micro in the Dark Age to do. I feel like back in the days when the Roos hunt was a big deal.
Oh god.
Then there was that one little strategy where you could chop into the woods and put your tree, you know, put your hunting cabin in the middle of your little wood line.
That was crazy, actually.
And now you don't. That was pretty crazy. I don't know if that ever actually paid off, but it was pretty fun to see.
It was.
Now, of course, the meta is to drop the sheep off right next to it and get hunting the moment you're done building that up.
Yeah, I think it was worth it to do that back then, but the sheer commitment necessary to doing it, like who can actually, you know, unless, well, I guess pros did do it, right? But like we did do it, but it's
we were all of us amazed.
It's still just so much effort, man. It's like chopping through on Oasis back in the day. Like,
did you know, like,
I just can't be asked. Yeah, I've done it a few times, and it's not easy. You got to be really careful. Considering the thing is, like, if you only had one scout, it wouldn't be that bad. But it was Roos, right? And I think that was before the bounty rig, if I'm not mistaken. So you still have to worry about wolves, about deer, about everything on the map with 2 or 3 scouts, whilst chopping 2 wood lines at once and making sure you don't over chop where you have to bring back the vills. Oh god, that's StarCraft's got nothing on that, let me tell you.
Oh man, I tried doing the hunting cabin in the woods once, and it was so much micro. I was losing my mind. I think I like completely botched the rest of my build because I was so hyper focused on doing it that I decided it was completely not worth it for lowly old at the time Diamond me. I was like, nope, Diamond 1 me is just not gonna deal. I don't care. I wasn't really much of a Roos main either, but I tried it. It was tough. I sometimes I missed the chop through. A couple of maps kind of got changed out with that. Anyways, we got this is kind of fun. I don't think,
well,
is that what I think it is?
It is a Kremlin.
I've not seen this in some time. We see a Kremlin in a really nice spot, actually, for a Kremlin, right on the deer, right on the gold. This is a different build, and this makes me feel like, are we going to see the old 2TC Kremlin build?
I mean, we did get a
players have been going for the Golden Gate instead, but...
Well, already there's 3 on stone, so I think you definitely might be onto something with your prediction. And we didn't get to discuss it much, but that is something I was wondering, like, what exactly is the plan here for B? Because, I mean, if you look at this on paper, I'm not going to lie to anyone, this looks like an impossible matchup, right? I mean, what's like, what hope does Roos have, realistically? They have worse knights, they have a slightly better eco, but it doesn't manifest enough into a big enough army to overcome what Macedon can output. Feudal is favored for Macedonia, even though Roos has access to knights. Macedonian feudal is that strong that I think Roos with knights has no hope, honestly, when it comes to fighting. So I guess 2TC is the choice here by B. That is what he's cooking. So it's going to be a bit of a similar case to as we saw with Lancaster against French, where he just doesn't want to fight in feudal. He just wants to put the pressure on Numudan to get damage done on his side and look to overcome him that way through maybe better trades or better conversions from one strategy to the next in the stages of the game, which is very important at this point. So where's the TC going to go? Right next to the Kremlin, very old school. Maybe on the far deer back in the north. Of course, this was going to be horsemen on the field. And the TC, I think... Well, it's not later with Kremlin than with Golden Gate, because it takes a while for the second ticket to come through with a Golden Gate, but it's not as risk-free, right? Like you actually have to gather stone here with the Kremlin. We also have an overgather. Well, no, that's actually the passive gold, right? The 120. You could opt for a nice little double broad axe here to help him out.
This feels like a blast in the past with a Kremlin 2TC build on our hands. I've seen recently with the 2TC meta now kind of being viable again, that Roos has gone for the Golden Gate and just bought the tickets because now it's less stone. You know, it's easier just to buy the stone you need. But yeah, sure enough, TC right there. I'm curious how long that deer's gonna stay there. Actually, no, wait, no, that was a survival hunt techniques, not pro scouts from Numudan that we saw coming in. Yeah, this is an old school build. I was wondering when I was looking at the patch notes, seeing the TC getting a price reduction, if we would see this from Roos, and then what we were seeing instead was that Golden Gate, time and time again. So now seeing the Kremlin, I just like, man, I just feel like I've jumped in a DeLorean and gone back 2 years.
It's a defensive choice, right? Because Golden Gate feels great for 2TC because obviously the cost is now 300 instead of 350. And back before that changed long ago, Roos would always go 2TC with Golden Gate, right? I think that was, yeah, it was right before that was a 2TC meta. And it just felt great for them because it's exactly 2 tickets they need. They started off with 1 ticket. It was perfect. Everyone was happy except the people facing Roos. So now that that's back, they can go right back to where they were before. But Kremlin also got buffed, right? We now get hand cannoneers in the Castle Age alongside the levies, which is going to be amazing for a defense against something like the Ridari, right? Or even horseman dives. So the Kremlin doesn't surprise me in this instance, especially with the front there. It just makes sense against the Civ that can be very aggressive, like Macedonia. If there wasn't the Kremlin, for instance, I think Numudan would be playing this completely differently. I think he'd actually be way more aggressive. But because there is a Kremlin and the TC right behind it, he knows there's no damage to be found. So after a couple of horsemen, time to go up.
This is a nice little base here from B. I actually really like where everything's lined up. Kremlin up in the front. You've got really good command of your zone of influence here. He's set up really nice. Golden Horn Tower, however, coming in. It's going to be a quick castle from Numudan. We'll see how he translates this into some aggression, potentially. Where's it being placed? Not here.
Oh, right in front of the...
corner a little bit more.
Yeah, in front of the 2 deer packs and next to the gold.
Yeah. That's a good spot. That definitely shows some expansion. And why not, right? You know your opponent isn't on the map. So you could place that kind of away from your base, expand out that way. On Dry Arabia, of course, everything kind of out in the open. Having both those deer packs in one spot, very tempting. And oh, I love this choice right here. These kind of walls, especially when you're playing as Roos, you're playing a little more of an economic game. Why let your opponent run circles around your base? Why not do this right here for the cost of, what, 50, 60 gold? 50, or sorry, wood. 50, 60 wood max there for that.
Yeah.
Probably less than that. Probably less than that, actually. But quite a bit less. Probably like 30 wood. Easy investment. That's going to pay dividends later.
And B, once again, just straight to the Castle Age. Of course, he has scouting position. He knows the level of investment of Numudan in this feudal. Besides the 2 horsemen and the 3 champions, there's nothing else at all. So he can get away with this. And it's going to be Abbey of the Trinity, actually. So he really wants those relics. There's some unique technologies in the Abbey as well that pertain to the warrior monks who, honestly, considering they are cheaper from the Abbey as well, they are really strong frontline units, not to be underestimated. Combined with the buff as well, means that if you're able to get that gold together as B, you genuinely have a really strong army here, whilst having the better economy as well, not just because of the 2TC, but just by design, right? The passive gold, the better food gathering with the bounty. There's plenty working in B's favor here, but then again, he's against Macedonia.
Yeah, he's got his work cut out for him here. Little raid jumping in through. A couple of militiamen pop out. Will Numudan get any damage done here? Actually, he gets one of them trapped. Able to trap the unit there. Someone's trying to get on top of him. That's actually a huge pickup.
It really is.
The hills are fine. Goodness, some excellent micro would be.
Ouch.
Have you seen those like nature documentaries when like a wasp enters into the bee's nest?
Yeah.
And bees swarm it. On brand for B here. That's exactly what we just watched.
Poetry in motion displayed here by B. And we were discussing earlier what's worth it for a knight in terms of villager kills before it falls. I guess it's similar for the Hippodrome Horseman. Similar price. And the answer is definitely not 0. So it's a rough one for Numudan in this position.
Yeah, 0 is not ideal, one could say. In fact, one might say if you're losing units for 0 return, that's the about as unideal as you could get. That is catastrophic.
That
Meanwhile,
would be,
a very, very big wall coming up here from Numudan. It feels like man, usually the wheels fall off in a game a little later, but it feels like things are getting out of hand very quickly. Like, just things aren't going his way. Trying to get with this relic in, that's going to be important because with the warrior monks coming out, that's going to be a lot of relics in for B potentially. However, Numudan does have some time. He did have some time advantage there.
He did, of course. The relic gathering in theory favors B from the perspective of the Abbey, but 2TC always makes that trickier and slower. He should be happy with 2 relics here for sure. But if he gets 3, then that would be amazing for him. Definitely shouldn't be able to, but with the Abbey, you never know. Looks like he is heading and mobilizing towards that southern side where it's a juicy spot. I mean, there's a lot there. The 2 relics as well as later on the ball. Big stone, 2 small stones, gold, large gold. It's a huge southern corner for B. Immense value there in the long run.
Don't look now, but on the north corner, B just yoinked the relic right away from Numudan, and I don't think that scout's going to do... I mean, I don't care if you're a Hippodrome scout or not. You're not doing anything to that. In fact, he's rushing units across. I don't know if he'll get there in time. Well, he's got some units rounding the corner. That might do it. But man, these warrior scouts... Getting that relic at least within range and taking out the monks to boot with some of the Kremlin units, the militiamen. This has been a really good opening for B so far. Meanwhile, he's also scaling behind this. Let's not forget, he has 2 town centers. So currently up to 56 villagers to 41 for Numudan. So already eking out a little bit of an economic lead. If he gets 3 of these 5 relics, he gets the advantage on that. He'll be sitting very pretty.
I'll be honest. There's few things I find more tilting than someone stealing my home relic. It's just the audacity of the move, right? just how dare you? Every time I see it in a game, especially when they're like 2TC like this, it's like how dare you even try to steal it? And then it works and I'm tilted, but it's one of those things like you have to try it as B, right? Because realistically, if it all goes as it should in theory, right, as it should unfold based on the way the situation unfolds normally, is B shouldn't get more than 2. So if you go for something a bit crazier, like taking your opponent's relics and you get away with it, which you can easier with these faster monks, then obviously you're way more ahead than you would be before.
Nice little push here from Numudan coming in. Archers sniping out those crossbows and the militiamen in the back. This tower, it doesn't look like it's long for this world. As the units start torching it down, I'm curious when B will pull the plug and get the villagers out of there. And I've thought of something worse than having your home relic stolen. Myriad, I got something for you.
Hit me with it.
Home relic taken. It's having your home relic in your religious building. Having that building torn down and having your opponent walk their, like mid-battle, walk their monk up, take your relic away and walk away with it.
You don't need to attack me like this. Yeah, that's very tilting. Yeah, that's yeah. I'm not gonna speak or I'll be in trouble. Big trouble. So no.
So needless to say, if you want to get a Myriad off his A game, you just gotta do that to him, and you got the game in the bag. Now, if you could do that to Myriad, you probably already have the game in the bag, you know. But anyways, we digress. So far, Numudan trying to get aggressive here. He's got a window, right, where B is still kind of waiting for that full payoff of the second town center. It's coming pretty close. He's got a lot of villagers. You're gonna start seeing that income really start to soar. So this is his window where his military is bigger, though. So Numudan needs to use his advantage, needs to get some vill kills. He hasn't killed a single villager. There's one that's weak right there on the corner and goes down. There's one. He needs a lot more than one, though, to keep this thing going. Imagine, you know, even just to delay a TC by a minute, it's 3 villagers, right? Because 20 seconds for each. You got to kill 3 villagers. You put that TC back by a minute of what it should have taken to recoup its losses, and really more than that. So he needs to get some damage done. He's got a ram in the works, trying to take down the production buildings. I actually like that choice. If you can clamp down the production buildings of B, bottleneck the production, that could really let you scale and get ahead. Numudan, again, needs to get this window going. He's got 3 of the relics, so he was able to secure his home relic. You can take a breather and be happy to know that it was not yoinked away. But so far, a good push here from Numudan. Is this going to be enough, though?
Well, B's struggling, right? I mean, he doesn't even have his ball taken. Not that he can safely. I mean, at this very moment, he can, right? There's nothing there. Numudan is for frontal assault at this moment. As he loses I think he lost a vill to the ball, right? This happens.
But no, actually, he shot that vill.
He what? Shot?
Yeah, he lost. Yeah, I was shot. It was making a barracks. Oh, this one.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
oh,
I
this
swear
one.
there's a corpse there, but
I
it's
thought
not
you were
on
talking
these.
about Bee's villager. I'm sorry.
No, no. Yeah, I'm not
That
sure.
right there. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I saw a corpse, but then it didn't add up, so maybe I'm mistaken. But double Cairo Siphon here on the front for Numudan, and this is Macedonia manifest, right? It's so many units, so many huge value units, some of the best units in the game, punishing you in this mid castle age. Like there's just no time here for B. His production is falling. He can't get a big enough army together, really, or really struggling to do so. He's forced to go farms behind this because a lot of his food is forward, and that's a risk for Arabia. This can happen. He was able to get his first dip back, but now he has to go to the second. He's going on the board now. Now, if these don't get spotted by Numudan, and B doesn't die in the next 1 minute, this could be the road to getting the numbers together to stage a hold here. But already so much infrastructure had fallen, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down.
Yeah, this is, we're seeing in real time why Macedonians are consistently banned, and one of the first 2 banned in these drafts at this level, because they're just really good. I mean, there's a lot of reasons as to why they're good too. These Hero Siphons currently just raising everything to the ground.
Even the main TC. Now, I mean, Numudan just doesn't even opt to go for the Kremlin or the second TC. He just wants to go straight in. And I think he checked his mini-map and he saw that those deer are dying, which can only mean one thing, and that means villages here.
Oh,
B knows. He escapes
play.
on the south
What
side.
An escape.
Ay, ay, ay.
I don't know if the escape's going to help, though, because the Knights are going to quickly realize what's happened. They don't get the jump on him. They're running straight to them. That is a lot of villagers. He's going to get a good surround here in just a second. Villagers aren't really able to run away, and now in comes some reinforcements. The villagers do indeed escape, but now the problem is, what do you do with this army that's behind your base? How do you have enough to clear it? Numbers are starting to even out a little bit, but man, B needs something to break his way, or this game's going to quickly get out of hand if it hasn't already.
That's the bigger concern, isn't it? This massive army, superior army right outside your base. And I mean, B has plenty of warrior monks, so they're going to give a huge buff for his units. That's going to be instrumental in holding here. But I don't know if it's enough, honestly. One of the Cairo Siphons, I think, had fallen. Only one left, but one's enough to put fire on everything here within B's base. Villagers trying to repair, but they're actually dying slowly to the fire. A couple had fallen already. And Numudan once again moves into position to snipe it out. When Fortress falls, 9 villagers had already fallen as well for B. Still with a big villager lead at this point in time, but he's bleeding army left and right. The back line is stronger from Numudan. The front line is way stronger from Numudan.
I think we're about to have a tied series in our hands. I don't see how B survives this. And even if he did, he's just going to be so far behind. 2 town centers just didn't have quite enough time to pay off. He needed just a little more time. You see that this farm transition, maybe that wasn't the ideal timing for him. Maybe he needed to get on that boar or something earlier to really supplement the food, because I feel like he invested a lot into these farms and now doesn't have any military, hasn't been able to stem the tide of what's coming in. Now, that said, this force right here is starting to dwindle down, but numbers still show that Numudan is very much ahead, massing out outside the base, reinforcements walking across the map, more production buildings going up. It's not looking great for B.
I'm just a little bit of tunnel vision from Numudan towards this northern side, right? It means that B was able to get away with that ball, even so far, completely scot-free. I don't even think... Okay, he does have a fortress, but really he shouldn't be able to get to that ball, right? Numudan,
That's going to save him if he has time. I mean, that could be his saving grace. If he can keep...
Yeah, already.
And if he can get a massive military going, he could get back in this game, because Rus is a decent economy and he's got 2 town centers. So he's not out of this game yet. He just needed to slow this down. And now that he's gotten a moment to catch his breath, Numudan's walking the long way around that wood line to get to the base.
Yeah, I mean, there's berries and deer to the north, and there's that berries there. So, like, I mean, I don't mind this too much. Like, he can, I guess, ignore that boar in this position if he denies all the rest of this food. That might be okay. I still feel like just one Ridari back and forth to either of the vills would be so much value here for Numudan. Instead, he wants to He really wants to go for it. Coming all the way from behind the base here, which is a bit of a zealous. As we mentioned, B is remasked quite healthily here because of that boar. Plenty of farms now down too behind us.
I think Numudan's about out of food. I think that boar just finished up on the north corner. I don't think he's got... What's his next source of food? This could be really bad if he doesn't have a good follow-up to this. He is currently not gathering any on food at the moment. Oh, this
it looks like it's quite the timing for it, right? There's the 2 additional berries in the far forward of Numudan's base. That's where he's gonna really have to go. He's making some farms now, it looks like, but he's gonna need way more. Yeah, like this is a good time for B to push, and I think it's his instinct telling him so as well, right? Like there's probably not as many units as he expected from Numudan. He must know the food is a problem.
Food dried up.
We also have to be careful how far we go here as B. We've seen this once before in this series, moving with full infantry up against the cavalry civilization on their side. This can end very badly, very quickly. And the Ridari are taking the white flank.
Starving right now. He's literally starving, but he has units on the field right now. B, meanwhile, look at his food income. He's at 2,000 a minute. That is insane. So he has recovered and recouped. The farms are now paying off. He's got the boar. He's got the food. He's got the gold. B just needed some time to stabilize. Numudan might have run out of food at the worst possible time. The wheels just immediately fell off, and now a crash and burn. He's finally got 20 on food somewhere. I'm guessing it's the berries in the middle there. Maybe some farms as well. Boy, that is such a bad time to have to make that transition. This is what we were talking about last game, too. B was in a really good position, even though he lost that game. He was in a good position because he always has the plan ahead, right? He always has what's next coming up. He took some bad fights because he got a little over-aggressive, as he almost did right here again. But B always has the what's next. I think Numudan might have forgotten what to do about the food. It kind of feels like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's that tunnel vision, right, we spoke of. He was so dead set on killing B, which, I mean, you want to do. You want to kill him with that 2TC for sure, but you can't forget about the macro behind this, right? Can't forget about that boar. Can't forget about your own food situation. Or this happens, suddenly B gets a surge of confidence, and with the inspiration, with the aura from the warrior monks, he's able to press through this position before these towers are fortified. Stone gathering isn't even underway here for Numudan, and this position is compromised. The backline is working overtime to try to thin out these men-at-arms, but B has a very healthy backline of his own, almost up to 40 crossbows, and with the inspiration from these monks, they are going to be way stronger. The Saint's Blessing, so much extra damage here. And Numudan's just losing his backline against B's backline despite having archers. Plenty of idle time on the gold here. This is slipping quickly. Numudan.
This is definitely an instance of hold the line, hold the line, hold the line for B. And now that he's broken out, The economy numbers almost, no, they just are basically doubled of what Numudan has. And now the military numbers quickly start to skew that way as well. This has been a dramatic hold from B. It did not look good for a split second when Numudan was crashing in, but man, what a time to run out of food, and what a time to then just crater as your opponent breaks forth and is just storming the field.
Just an incredible strategy here from B, and again, absolutely flawless execution, I want to say here. Just understanding this transition point so well, knowing exactly when Numudan is at his weakest with Macedonia here, after his transition is finished, be able to secure that ball when he needed it most. And now there's nothing left for Numudan here. He just has a few archers and crossbowmen. He cannot hold under his own Golden Horn Tower. And GG is cold as B takes the victory. 3-1.
Man, what a game. What a game that was. It felt like it was Numudan all day until about the 18-minute mark. He just started running out of steam, and he was going around the back way. I think also getting the boar for B was really huge. Having that injection of really fast gather rate food to rebound that. He didn't lose too many villagers either. That's another huge point. Didn't lose a lot of economy. You could see it stagnated a little bit between minute 16 and 20. So for a couple minutes, it wasn't going great, but he'd already built such a lead that when it started going up again, once the steam wore out from Numudan, B was able to then just immediately rebound and then just win the game, essentially. I mean, that was pretty incredible. What a terrible time to run out of boar for if you're Numudan. Like if he'd had, let's say he had a second boar ready to go, or if he had like another deer pack he was on, or if he just had, 2,000 more food, he probably could have kept the advance up and maybe done something, but instead falls to the economic power of Rus with enough time to get going.
Yeah, it's also the angle of attack, right? I don't think it's very difficult to just ignore the Kremlin and go all the way around it from this side. Just compare the distance between Numudan's base to this point of entry into B's base, which is basically from behind B's base, right? There's just going to be, it's so difficult to reinforce here. Your reinforcements are also at risk of running through the Kremlin if you don't rally them properly, which he did, to be fair. You can see them going around the northern part of those berries below the wood line, but it's such a long distance. Just look at the streamline. So keeping up this aggression effectively is so tough. I think targeting the Kremlin might have been the better choice here for Numudan, potentially, in hindsight, and obviously putting a bit more respect on the boar income. I mean, denying the rest of the food is great, but the boar is there, and likely the most of the farms are being placed around that side as well, because it's the other side from where you attack. It's hard to kill an opponent outright a lot of the time like this in Castle Age, at this level at least. Even as Macedonian, even against Rus. Although Rus defensively now are better than ever, right? Especially with the Kremlin.
I feel like we've learned some things here, right? With some of the changes in the meta and with Macedonians still being a new civ and being considered so dominant, people ask, well, what can you do against Macedonians? What can be done? Like, sometimes people kind of get fatalistic about it. Like, who can stand up against the Macedonians, right? Rus 2TC was not easy, was not an easy defense from B, but he was able to outplay Numudan here, able to get on that boar, able to stay alive just long enough for that payoff. Because then again, the 2TCs, it's a investment where you're behind for a little bit, hoping to springboard later. It just is a matter of, can you hold long enough and not lose too much to get that springboard? And even though Numudan denied those resources on the side, what he didn't do is he didn't kill that many villagers. And so that meant B's economy was alive and well. He just had to find a source of food, which he had. And that's all she wrote. So then that means this series comes to an end. B 3-1